Hey team, Coach Malik here. And in this training, we're going to be walking you through the community strategy content. And what this training is going to consist of, it's going to walk you through everything that you need to know about the type of content that you should be sharing, when you should be sharing that type of content, and how you should be sharing that type of content inside of your community, which will allow you to start building relationships with people inside of your community, which will then lead to high paying clients. So with that being said, let's jump right on into this. So the first step in understanding the community content is that we have to understand the foundations of content in itself, okay? Now, content is anything that someone has posted or shared with others. There's multiple forms of content, which we'll just get to in just a second. Now, when people use content to market or to grow a business, it is known as content marketing, okay? And content marketing is all about creating and sharing content to reach your target audience or your people, all right? Now, when using content marketing, what you're doing is you're sharing the value, and that's what draws people to your company, to your program, to your brand, and that creates awareness for the product and services that you have to offer. Now, for example, if we would use content marketing to draw people to your company to create awareness about your coaching program, right? And it would be specific to the type of people that you are trying to work with. So to understand the bigger component of how community content works, we need to understand content foundations and understand what the foundations of content actually look like and what the premise is. And so the whole premise of content is that it is used in content marketing when it comes to business, if you want to grow a business, so that you can actually share and build relationships with your target audience, okay? Now, to understand content a little bit further, we need to better understand the difference between direct response marketing and content marketing, okay? Now, direct response marketing is very linear in focus. It's centered around getting someone to take a specific action. And that specific action can look anything like click here, download this, watch this webinar, buy this. And if you recall earlier on when you joined the Remote Wellness Academy journey, it all started with this ad that you clicked on to watch a free case study. And that is the entire premise of direct response marketing. The goal is to hook the audience into taking a specific action. Now, moving along here, content marketing, on the other hand, is more relationship based, okay? And what it allows you to do, it allows the audience to build a relationship with you and your company. And what that does is that creates goodwill and it nurtures your audience at the same time. So they're getting something out of what you're giving to them. The whole premise behind this is, would you ask someone to marry you on the first date? No, right? That would be weird. Now, content marketing acts as a relationship builder between you and your audience. And what that does, it allows them to get closer to you. It allows them to get closer to your brand, understand you a little bit better, which ultimately leads to them making a decision whether they want to work with you or not. Now, where does content marketing take place? Content marketing can take place in blogs, social media posts. It could take place in a podcast, in a newsletter, any platform that people use to consume information or entertainment, okay? Now, you can see this. Here is an Instagram post where you can see content here. This is YouTube. And then this is a blog post where you can see the example of content being consumed. So those are some of the areas where content exists and where people can actually consume content to actually lead them to being nurtured by you and making sure that they understand and build a relationship with your brand, okay? Now, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that was the Content Foundations training. If you have any questions in regards to the Content Foundations, make sure to go ahead and let us know inside of the student community. And with that, we're going to wrap this up here, and we'll catch you guys in the next training section. All right, team, welcome back. And in this training, we're going to be talking about the difference between community content versus general content. And what this will allow you to see is the difference between general content and community content and what separates each of these two and why we're going to be focusing on community content first. So without further ado, let's jump into this. Now, there are two different types of objectives when it comes to content. Now, the first objective is all around generating leads. The second objective is all around nurturing leads. So what's the difference? Now, generating leads is you are putting out content on all platforms. And what that is doing is that is allowing you to capture an audience. People are starting to follow you. And what it's doing is generating leads for you. Versus nurturing content is that, hey, you already have these leads. Now you just have to provide value to them and provide nurture to them. Now, for this specific training, we're going to be talking specifically about the community content strategy. Now, the focus of community content is to nurture the leads that are inside of the community versus general content is more focused around generating leads. That means you're making content to build an audience, like I said earlier, to attract people who resonate with your message, and then eventually they'll turn into paying customers. Now, general content is a topic that we're going to be diving into in another training completely because it's all about building a brand. And that is going to be an entire training module in itself. Right now, your lead generation source is going to be coming from advertisements. So you're going to be running direct response ads to fill up your community. So you don't need content for lead generation purposes right now. Because when you're creating content for lead generation purposes, it actually requires mass distribution across multiple platforms, and it can take a lot of time to actually do that, and that becomes a full-time job in itself. So moving along here over to community content and what that looks like, again, going back to what we talked about, community content, the focus is mainly to nurture leads. So the goal of community content is to create specific content. Okay, I repeat, specific content that helps people in your community want to work with you because that is the end goal. We want to get paying clients. Now, what will happen is people will consume 2 to 3 pieces of content before they make a decision if they want to work with you or not. And this becomes the litmus test that allows people to see that you're relevant, you have the knowledge to actually help them, and you can actually solve their problem. You are an expert at solving their problem. Now, the goal of the content inside of your community is not to pitch. What do I mean by not to pitch? We are not selling anything inside of the community. The whole goal is simply to get people to want to take the next step. And the next step is scheduling a call to speak with you. And that will give you the ability to get in front of more people, which will then allow you to get high-paying clients. Now, your community eventually will actually become a compounding asset. What do I mean by that? Because as you're creating content on a weekly basis, you're going to create such goodwill for people, right? Such goodwill that people will trust you. They'll think that you're an authority because you are an authority, because you can get them to exactly where they want to go. Because what you're doing is you're sharing your process, you're sharing your unique mechanism, you're sharing how you're going to help your people get to their paradise. And if this is done correctly, what this is going to lead to is tons and tons of conversations with community members. That could happen inside of DMs. It can happen via phone calls. It can happen wherever you like. And number 2, what it's going to lead to more conversations, which will then allow you to have more sales calls, which will then be a byproduct because you've provided so much value to people that they can't wait to actually speak with you. Now, in order to understand the entire community content process, we first need to get over some limiting beliefs around making content that a lot of people have, okay? Now, many people have certain limiting beliefs when it comes to putting out content into the world or even inside of their community. They even struggle with just facing the fact that they're going to be sharing things with people, sharing their expertise. Now, before we can talk about the specific process on how to create community content, we have to go ahead and squash some of these limiting beliefs about this process. Because if we don't squash the limiting beliefs, what's going to happen is it's going to limit you, right? No pun intended. It's going to limit you on your ability to create community content. And this is the part where all of the fears, all of the emotions, all the distractions, the procrastination is going to come up. And why can we share this is because we've gone through this ourselves. So we're sharing this from firsthand experience. And unfortunately, this specific step is a very big hangup when it comes to newbie beginners. And what ends up happening is it's okay for you to be a newbie beginner. Okay? Well, you're going to start here. Everybody starts as a newbie beginner. But as soon as you cross the line into becoming a limbic lalu, you start wearing the failure uniform, right? Why is that so important? Because a lot of folks will tend to major in the minors. They can't get their emotions in check. They freak out. They lose it, right? Here's the thing. We want every student to become a winner. And you are a winner. But you just have to choose to become a winner. And you know what winners do? Winners take action regardless of how they feel. And when you get started with anything, right? Anything new that you do, your limbic mind is going to want you to stop because it's uncomfortable, right? Because your brain was designed to keep you safe and help you survive. Because we've had the same brain for the last 200,000 years. It's the same. And it was designed to help us stay safe. And that's all your brain wants to do. So it's going to send you negative, dark thoughts. It's going to take you to places that you've never wanted to go because you're doing something new and it's not something that it's used to. And what's going to happen is you're going to start riding the roller coaster of thoughts and emotions because that's always going to be happening. Just as a reminder, the roller coaster of thoughts and emotions are always going on. But the question that you have to ask yourself is whether or not do you choose to ride it or do you choose to actually observe it? Because that is a choice that you can actually make yourself, right? People see successful people and they assume that they don't have any anxiety. They don't feel anything, right? That successful people must not feel any anxiety, any stress, any obstacles. But that's completely false. The only difference between those who are limbic lalus and those who are winners is that winners don't let the emotions stop them because this is a choice. How you feel is a choice. And regardless of anything, winners just do the dang work regardless of how they feel. Why? Because that is what is required. Winners will always do what is required for success, period, regardless of how they feel. So many students keep asking when they feel terrible feelings, I feel so bad, something must be wrong with me because of these bad feelings. It's not good. I'm not good enough. How do I stop feeling this way? And here's the answer. You don't. You will always feel horrible. It is completely normal, especially when you're doing something new. There's nothing wrong with you. These emotions are expected. And the difference between limbic lalus and winners is how they manage these emotions and whether they let the emotions seep into them or not. Negative thoughts and feelings are not a problem. This is normal. Every human being goes through this. You don't need to do anything except taking action, and that will make them go away. And they will go away as long as you remember that they are not important and you choose to feel whatever it is that you want to feel. Now, with that being said, what are these specific limiting beliefs that people face? Let's dive into each of these. Now, the first limiting belief that we hear a lot of are, I don't want to give away too much for free. Now, this concept of giving too much for free or feeling as if you're giving too much information out for free, it's absolutely normal. It happens to all of us when we start, right? We have this knowledge, we have this information, we know it's valuable, we've spent money gathering this information. We should get paid for it. It's our absolute right. But here's the shift. There's no such thing as giving too much away for free. Because the more you give, the more you're going to grow, and the more you take, the more you're going to shrink. Think about it this way. It's like deposits and withdrawals, right? The more you deposit, the bigger the withdrawal you can make, right? Because if you keep withdrawing, then there's nothing to deposit from. So you get paid for the proportion of the value that you provide. So think of the value as your deposit. If you were to go to the bank of value, right? You are depositing value. And in exchange, you are going to get clients, and that is going to be your withdrawal. So the more value that you can provide, people are eventually going to reciprocate that in your ability to withdraw from them because you've always been making these deposits. Now, when you start creating content inside of your community, it's really about two things. what can I do for my people and how can I actually serve them? Those are the two frames that will serve you a lot as you're going into creating content inside of your community. Because we as human beings can detect intent. You know this. We all have this internal barometer where we can tell whether somebody's being genuine or somebody's not being genuine. And intent is what will help you create connections with your people and get them to want to work with you. And the goal should to ultimately be a human and engage and relate and actually be yourself. So don't worry about giving too much information for free, because all of that is deposits that you are making that eventually you will withdraw from in the form of clients and monetary value. Now, moving along to the next limiting belief that we hear a lot is that I'm not good at creating content. Right? And what I want you to do is I want you to add the words yet to the end of this. I'm not good at creating content yet, right? Because in order to get quality, it takes reps to get good. If I asked you to fix a car, obviously you're not good at fixing a car. But if you fixed a car every single day for 100 days straight, I'm pretty sure that you would be much better at fixing cars, right? And creating content or doing anything is exactly the same way, because the content that you create in the beginning will suck. And if anyone is going to share that with you, let it be me. But do not let the fear of not being good enough hold you back. And that's what limbic lalus do. They let the fear sabotage them and hold them down into their current state and not let them progress. And that's okay. Sucking is okay. Content not being is okay, because that is a prerequisite of you getting good. You start with sucking. You start by being horrible, and then eventually you will get better. And it all starts, in my personal opinion, it all starts with you setting the right expectations that you have. Because if your expectation is to be perfect right off the gate, then that's not having a winner's mindset. And another thing that a lot of people face is this fear of perfectionism, that whatever I should make should be perfect. And if it's not perfect, it's not worthy. And I just want to remind you, no one remembers the crappy singles. Everybody remembers the hit songs. So what you're holding yourself back from and letting the fear affect you from taking action, no one really cares. And just be okay. Just set the expectation straight that you are not going to be good at the beginning, but eventually you're going to get better. And no matter what you do, you will always continue to get better, especially from day one. Now let's move along to limiting belief number 3. And limiting belief number 3 is all about what will I actually talk about? Right? Now, here's the truth when it comes to creating content. You will not have a creative orgasm if you come up with some crazy content idea or breakthrough right off the get-go. It will come by you doing quick chats. It will come by you speaking with clients, consuming podcasts, reading books. No one just sits down and has crazy creative orgasms, because the quality of your content will be entirely based on what it is that you're consuming. And Gary Vee has this rule about documenting versus creating. So if you're thinking to yourself, what am I going to talk about? I have nothing to talk about. This is something that I cannot do. The best thing to talk about in content is what is happening right now. What's happening in your life? What is working with your clients? What is working with your own health? How can you actually share that with the world? It's not about promotion or trying to be a guru on the mountain that knows it all. It's all about sharing the knowledge with the people that you're trying to help. Because all you have to do is, if your people are here and you are trying to get to here, you just have to be 2 steps ahead of them. That's it. And if you're 2 steps ahead of them, you know more than the person back here. So it's very important for you to understand the concept of sharing knowledge, because people are going to see that as a form of value. And you're going to have something to talk about because you're constantly learning, because your goal is to get to here. Because as long as you're growth oriented, you're always going to be learning. You're always going to be trying new stuff. You're always going to be doing things that serve you and that allow you to actually grow. And this is why we will help you create a system around this. There's no way that you can sit down and have creative orgasms. No artist has this. And so this way, once you have a system, it'll allow you to have unlimited ideas that are readily available for you to create content inside of your community. And it's going to make it very efficient for you to actually create and crank out content inside of the community. Now, moving along here, let's go over to limiting belief number 4. What are my friends and family going to think? They're going to make fun of me. That's a big limiting belief that a lot of people face. And I struggled with that myself for the longest time. I was so afraid of being judged by my peers. What are they going to think? How are they going to react? But whenever I would talk to them about the content inside of my community, they would say it was great. So really, the insecurity that I had was all internal. Because honestly, people could care less. People don't really care about you. They care about themselves. Think about it this way. If a friend or family member came up to you and they said, hey, I'm a newbie and I'm trying to play the piano. Would you mind listening to me playing the piano? And you listen to their piano. You know they're a newbie and they suck and you know it. But would you actually judge them? Of course you wouldn't. That would be horrible. If you would judge them, we have to have a separate conversation. Now, here's a lesson that took me many, many, many years to learn. Us as human beings, we are all selfish. We judge ourselves harder than others actually judge us because people could care less about you. They could care less about your content because they're too involved in their own lives. So if you're afraid or if this is a limiting belief that you have around your friends and your family making fun of you, well, this limiting belief is actually false because no one really cares except for you. Now that we understood the limiting beliefs that exist in creating content. Now, what's the winner's approach to creating community content? What is the opposite of what that looks like? Now, when many people start producing content, right? Let's set the expectation straight. They expect it to be a Steven Spielberg movie right off the get-go, right? They just want it to be a movie-style production. But that's not what it's going to be. So let's set our expectations straight right from the get-go. The rule is consistency. Your goal is to show up every single week, no matter what. And that's what winners do. You're going to stick to your DIP process, which will tell you what that is in another training. And you're going to focus on the process, not the outcome. Because action is what you're going to be focused on from the start. Your goal should be to fall in love with the process. And falling in love with the process will allow you to develop the skill that you need because you're going to have the knowledge and you're going to be taking the reps that are necessary to grow. Now, the reality is that for the first 90 days, you're actually finding your voice. You're figuring out ways to actually communicate. You're figuring out how to speak, how to entertain, how to present in your style. You're learning about other stuff in the meantime. So don't make the outcome the goal. Make the action the goal, especially at the beginning, right? Because what you're doing is you're making content in the community to get people to like, know, and trust me. That is the goal of inside of the community. And eventually, if I get people to like, know, and trust me, it will lead them to working with me. And what newbie beginners focus on is they focus on the end result. But the two things that you need to focus on are, one, who do I need to become? And number two, what is the action that I need to take? Okay? And your biggest win on a weekly basis is to get over the paralysis by analysis and just do the dang work. That's how you're going to get over the paralysis by analysis. Your brain is going to tell you to stop. Your brain is going to tell you to quit. Your brain is going to tell you that this is uncomfortable. Take me out of this situation. But you are a winner. And this is where most newbie beginners quit. They quit when it starts to get hard. That is why a character trait of resilience, of grit, will serve you throughout your entire entrepreneurial journey because it does not stop. It's always a constant growth from your version 1.0 to your version 2.0. You're constantly growing. You're constantly in this uncomfortable state. You're constantly getting to the next level. And what I've come to realize is that most people can't do things over and over and over again, which is doing the boring work. You need to be able to take action without seeing the result. That's what content actually is, especially at the beginning, because great things take a very long time. Things are not built overnight. Your journey that you have gone through did not happen overnight. You did not go through certification with a snap of a finger. It took time, because what you really have to understand is even if things are going well, keep doing it. But even when things are not going well, you still keep doing it. The key here is conscious effort. Pay attention, be conscious, think clearly as you're going through this process, because that's what's going to allow you to learn. You have to become the type of person who could do something for a long period of time without quitting. Because if you stick with something long enough, it's hard for you not to be successful at it. And here's the reality. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to feel like some days you don't want to show up. But I want to remind you that you are a winner, and you will always do what is required and what is necessary to win, because every winner and every loser have the same goals. Winners just take action no matter what happens in their lives or how they feel or where they're at, because the goal is to make progress over perfection. And that's what's going to allow you to actually take this to the next level and get through the parts that suck and get to a point where everything just clicks, everything makes sense, and you are at that next level. You have become your version 2.0. And then again, that's going to become your version 1.0, because you're always going to be growing. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up our training section on limiting beliefs around creating content. If you have any questions about this section or anything that we discussed or any other limiting beliefs that you feel that you might be facing, make sure to ask inside of the student community, because that's what the student community is there for. It's there for you to get the support that you need to get to the next level. It's not just about the gurus on the mountain. It's not just about submitting your work. It's about asking for help. It's about reaching out for help. It's about networking inside of the community, because you're going to get more out of the community than you're going to get out of the resources that we provide. Because having the knowledge is great, but the community gives you context and feedback to the knowledge that so you can always get better. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to conclude our training on limiting beliefs around making content. We'll catch you guys in the next training section. All right, team, welcome back. And in this training section, we're going to be going over the community content overview. And what the community content overview will be is that this will be a 30,000 foot walkthrough of what you can expect, the different type of content that you can post inside of the community, and how each of those will actually work, because each of those will actually be broken up into its own training section as well. So let's jump into this and understand this a little bit better. Now, once you understand the foundations of content, what we're going to do is we're going to dive into the principles of community content. And the first rule of community content is that more is not better. Now remember, the difference between general content and community content is that general content, you are creating a lot of content to generate leads. Now community content, we're being very specific with the content that we're going to be providing inside of community. Because remember, the goal of community content is to nurture and foster relationships, and that will lead to paying clients. That is the entire premise of community content. Now, just as a reminder, the goal of your community content is to generate new conversations, nurture and create goodwill with the people that you're engaging inside of the community or inside your DMs. And then lastly, your last goal is to drive engagement, because it is the least important out of all of them. So if you go into your community and you start worrying about them, nothing is driving engagement, don't worry about that, because as long as you hit 1 and 2, you're going to be good, because this is what's going to lead people to the next step. Now, the community content section will consist of 7 types of content that you're going to be learning about. So you're going to be learning about anticipation posts, you're going to be learning about live trainings, value post, hand raiser post, client wins, you're going to be learning about question posts, and then something that we call promo cycles, and how to actually run promo cycles on a quarterly basis. Now, we're going to dive into each of these in detail, when to use them, how to use them, and give you tons of examples so you can get your creative juices flowing, so you can start implementing this inside of your community right away. Now, before diving into the specifics of the types of content, we want to help you guys understand the principles of community content, okay? So let's jump into this right away. Number one, the first principle of community content is that quality over quantity. Quality will win over quantity all day long. Now, your community is like a magazine publication, and the goal is quality over quantity, because in a magazine, they're not going to let random stuff fly, right? You're not going to have a cereal ad in a magazine that is about fashion. So it's very selective with what they put on every page to make sure that the reader has the best experience. So the community is actually not a feed. This is not where you're sharing cat videos or your political stances or anything of that sort. The goal should be to be deliberate and very precise with the content that you create and the content that you share. Okay. And when you're sharing too much content inside of the community, it's actually not a good idea, because what it makes you seem is that you've got nothing better to do. You're overly available. And all it does, it creates something called banner blindness, because people know that they can expect something from you versus it's sporadic, versus it's a surprise. They don't know what they're going to expect. People like surprises. They want to be surprised. It's something that allows them to create anticipation for them. Now, when you're not posting in the group often, it makes people want more, which will want them to pay you for your information, because that's what we want overall. Okay. Now, moving along here, let's go into principle number 2 and walk you through this. So the second principle is all about less time creating, more time promoting. So your weekly pillar content is going to be your weekly live trainings. And this will be the most consistent form of content, because you're going to be doing them every single week. Now, don't worry. We're going to give you the exact scripts, the formats, how to write it, give you examples of how to do them weekly, as always with RWA over delivery promise, right? Once you do the weekly live trainings, the rest of the week is spent promoting that. And you're going to do it from different angles. You're going to do it via email. You're going to do it via text. You're going to send it to people that you're having conversations with. And that's really the main purpose, is that we spend less time creating, more time promoting. Now, the commonest mistake that newbies make is that they spend too much time creating rather than actually promoting the thing that they're actually creating. Okay. Now, moving on to principle number 3, that there's no such thing as purposeless content. Okay. There's no such thing as purposeless content. Say it with me. Content needs to be focused around serving. Okay. Serving your people. Going back to what we talked about earlier. How can I help them? How can I serve my people? And this is where you're going to be able to focus on the what and the why that helps people get over their limiting beliefs and gets them to buy into your marketing thesis. We're never going to share the how, because they're going to get the how when they pay for your program. And it's crazy, because even if you share the step-by-step process, even if you share everything with people that they need to do to get results, they're still not going to get results, because they need to be financially invested into making a change for themselves, right? So posting random cat videos, okay, or your political stance is not needed inside of your community. Please refrain from doing that. Actually, don't do that at all, because people are coming into the community to learn how to solve their problem and get to their paradise using your process, not wanting to know your political stance or your cat videos. Now, really quickly, I want to share something with you that a lot of people have this common mistake of thinking, that there are going to be something called community lurkers, and I'll share with you what that means, and it's in a non-creepy way. Now, there are 2 types of people who join the community. Number 1, there are active participants, okay? Then number 2, there are lurkers. Now, active participants are those types of folks that comment on everything. They want everything that you share, every hand raiser, every asset that you have, every live. They're going to be with you. These are like die-hard fans. These are raving fans of the community. Now, your group will also have another group of people, which are lurkers. Now, lurkers are those people that don't participate in the day-to-day. But what they do is they just kind of sit back in the background and they watch the action. Okay? Now, I'm going to admit, I myself am a lurker. I participate very rarely, because most of the time I'm just there in the community to extrapolate as much info as possible. Now, lurkers, no matter how good your content is, will never engage. And I just want to let you know that is completely okay. Some people have this expectation where I have 400 people inside of my community. Why are not all 400 people not sharing stuff or not commenting, that's a limiting belief. You got to get over that. It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, even though they're lurkers, it does not mean that they won't buy, right? Just because they're lurkers, just because they're actually sitting back and watching the action does not mean that they won't buy. They will buy from you. Because when we have had a community in the past, we've had a ton of people who would consume our content for months. And then they'll come out all of a sudden and they're like, hey, I'm ready to sign up. And in fact, many of the people that will buy from you will never directly engage in your content. Like they'll be watching it from the sidelines, but they're never going to comment. They're never going to say anything until the time is right. They're going to say, hey, I'm ready to make the decision or get to the next level, or they're going to reach out to you, or you're going to be able to reach out to them inside of the DMs. Because remember, just because they're not engaging does not mean they will not buy. Because some of the best people you're going to get are going to be people that are not directly engaged in your content because they're watching from the sidelines, they're consuming and taking everything in, and they're going to make a calculated decision. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up our community content overview. If you have any questions about this section or anything discussed, make sure that you go ahead and ask us inside of the student community. And in the next training sections, we're going to start doing a deep dive on each individual type of post, the 7 different posts that we shared with you, so you can have a very good context of the type of content, when to post it, how to post it, and how to actually create it for yourself. That way you're ready to rock and roll. Now, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go ahead and wrap it up here, and we'll catch you guys in the next training section. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this training section where we're going to be talking about the anticipation post. So let's jump in and dive in right away. So before we do anything big inside of the community, what we want to do is we want to get people excited for the things that we have coming up. We want to create some anticipation for what is to come and for the things that we are going to be releasing. Now, the purpose of the anticipation post, think of it like a trailer to a movie, right? When they create movies, they launch mini multi-series of trailers around the movie to get people excited about what is actually coming. Now, we use the anticipation post for 3 types of content specifically. Number 1, the weekly live streams or the weekly live trainings. Number 2, the upcoming promos, if you have any promotions or promo cycles coming up. And then lastly, whenever you're launching a new program or a new offer or whatever it is that you're doing, you're going to create anticipation post around that. Now, there are 3 parts to an anticipation post. Part number 1 is going to be the copy. Part number 2 is going to be the image. And part number 3 is going to be the tagging new members. So let's dive into each one of these parts and make sure that you understand everything individually. So let's talk a little bit about part 1, which is the copy. So part 1, this is going to be the write-up that's at the top of the post. So if you have your post and you have your image at the bottom on Facebook, the type up that's going to be at the top, that is going to be your copy. Now below this, we have a framework that we've used for many, many, many years when creating anticipation posts that has done really well for us. Now, as a reminder, I want to let you know that I want you to start with this. And as you get better, I want you to iterate on this because you first have to replicate and then you can innovate. And as you get better, I want you to develop your own style because remember, you're not a remote control student. You are a winner. And winners empower themselves to get creative after they understand what they are actually doing. Okay? So breaking down the anticipation post framework is really the next step to help you understand this a little bit better. So there's 3 main parts to this. There's a big, clear headline. Then it's going to be providing context of what you're sharing, why it's important. Then sharing the details of what people can expect. Then you're going to be giving a call to action. Okay, and we're going to break these down individually into a copy that we have laid out right here. So don't worry, we're going to break this down. So first is going to be all around giving a clear headline. And this is going to be, as you can see right here, right, giving a clear headline, is all about the number one tool men need to create wealth and purpose in 6 months. So you can see it's a very clear, powerful headline. That is what we are leading with because we want our people to know, hey, this is going to be the thing that's going to solve your problem. It's going to allow you to get closer to your goals. You're going to want to hear this, okay? That is the big headline. Then you're going to get into providing some context. And when you're providing context, really the whole premise of this is, why is this concept important? Why should they be listening to you? It could be as long as short as you want. And I'll get into what the context actually looks like in just a second. Now, when it comes to sharing the details, what you're going to be sharing is what people can expect inside of the live training. So this anticipation post is created for a live training, right? Now, you're also going to be sharing what you will be teaching or what is to come inside of it. Now, example, you're going to share something along the lines of the 3 things that you must do. In this training, you will learn. Those are some examples of sharing details. And then lastly, we're going to get into a call to action. And this is where you're going to go something like, comment this if you want to get access. This word is actually going to relate to what the post is all about, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. Then you're also going to get people to comment replay, because majority of the people don't watch the live training live. They watch the replay. So to drive engagement, we want to have people that comment replay. What that's going to do is that's going to bump the live training back to the top, or the anticipation post back to the top. It's going to make people comment more, and it's going to get more eyeballs on the post. So with that being said, let's actually dissect an example so you can better understand what this actually looks like, okay? So as you can see here, this is the clear, bold headline, right? Very strong, very compelling. The number one tool men need to create wealth and purpose in 6 months. I always like to add a time frame because time frame makes things very specific for people. Okay. Now, once we're done with the headline, the next thing we're going to go into is we're going to provide some context to what is actually going on and what we're going to be actually talking about. And this is really important, guys, because you have to help people understand why what you're going to share is important, because it might be important to you, but it might not be important to other people. So you can see here, this is where we go into, do you feel stuck and think that if I make more money, I'd have a better life, right? That couldn't be furthest from the truth. As men, we're hardwired to be caretakers and providers. This is what causes many men to be stuck for the rest of their lives. Notice how I'm agitating the problem here. I'm actually creating a problem that people know exists, but they just don't recognize. And I'm actually letting them know why it's important. But it doesn't have to be that way. Why is it that some men can have it all and some men struggle and live a miserable life? See what I'm doing now? I'm creating that why. It's not because successful men have a secret. It's that the rest of the men who live a life of mediocrity choose not to see reality for what it is. See how I've created this strong why that they need to be actually reading or watching this? Now, this is a little bit longer. You could literally have a 1-sentence why. It doesn't have to be this long, but the bigger you make the why, the stronger you make the why, what it's going to do, it's going to hook more people in, because you have to relay and let people know why what you are sharing with them is important. Now, the third section that we go into is what we call sharing the details, okay? So this portion is really simple. You're just letting people know that, hey, tomorrow at this time, we're going to be going live right here in the Pinnacle Man Project community. So we're telling them very specifically, we're going to go live at this time and where we're going to be going live. And then in the live, we're going to be sharing with you these things. Notice how we just shared the details, and it could be very simple as this. So you can take this exact formula and you could go, so tomorrow at 2 p.m. or at 3 p.m. EST, we're going to be going live right here in your community name, and we're going to show you the number one thing that you need to lose weight and keep it off for the rest of your life. So you can interchangeably use this every time. And then the fourth piece of your anticipation post is going to be your CTA, okay, your call to action. So notice how we actually have people start commenting here, and this is the specific word that we have people comment. So if you're excited to learn more and start putting this tool to use in your life to start leveling up, type tool in the chat below so we can see your name pop up. So we're telling people specifically what we want them to do. And then we actually tell people, hey, if you want the replay, let us know too. That way we can actually send it to you after things done. Then we actually tell them to type replay in the chat so we can make sure that they get access to the replay. Then we close it off with a question. This might be optional if you wanted to, but we just kind of create a little bit of hype to get people really pumped up. And then you could just sign it off and you should be good to go. So that is the anatomy of what an anticipation post would look like. And that's kind of the framework, which consists of a big, clear headline, as you can see here. Then we're providing context. Then we're going to be sharing some details. And then we go ahead and give a call to action. So to see this in retrospect and what this actually looks like, this was the entire post. And this is how it shows up inside of Facebook. So you can see here, obviously, you can see the headline here. You can see the context broken down. You can see the details, right? And we actually bold the details so people can see because that's what they're going to read. And then we go into the call to action. So you can see all the broken parts right here inside of this anticipation post. So that was part one of the anticipation post. Now going into part two, it's all about the image of the post. Now practically everything that we post inside of the community, with the exception of a few types of content, will always have an image with it. Why? Images always pop. It gets people's attention. It makes people want to engage. So make sure to include an image with this post. What it'll do, it'll boost the engagement inside of your community because people are visual creatures and they want to be able to see, because if you have a wall of text, they're not going to be able to relate to that. But if you have an image that relates to that wall of text, they're going to be able to resonate with that a little bit more. Now, what type of image can it be? So we recommend going for an image or a picture of yourself. You can do that, or you can get a stock image for Canva and use that as well. Now, for this example, what we did is we used 2 stock images and we made an example right here that you can actually take a look at. Okay. Now what you could do is you can add a title to this if you wanted to. So we've got a title here so it catches more attention. We've got the time box letting them know the time. And we've actually made it into more of like a canvas. So it's a side-by-side, kind of making it feel like a before and after post. Okay. So like I said, you can add the title. What we're sharing with you, this type of image that we're sharing with you here, it's not gospel. Okay. This is just what has worked for us over the years. You can choose to replicate it, or you can get creative and come up with your own style, or you could keep it simple by just having one simple stock image that goes with the post. Now, I have to remind you, you can't just like have a post about losing weight and have a cat on your image. I just want to remind you of that the image has to go with the post and what you're actually sharing. Now, as a reminder, just remember, whatever style you come up with, make sure to make it consistent, because every week people are going to be seeing this and you want to make it consistent because it starts to align with your brand. Now, moving along here, once you have gotten your image dialed in, the third part of this is going to be tagging new members. So let's walk you actually through that. And this is a really awesome hack that you can use to get new members inside of your community engaged and activated. So every single week, you're going to have new members joining, right? And you're going to be doing a live training every single week. So that means you're going to be creating an anticipation post every single week, because the anticipation post goes right before the live training, because the anticipation post actually lets people know that you're going to be doing a live training. Now, Facebook has this feature where you can write a welcome post for your new members that are joining your community. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and go to the members section inside of your community. You can only do this from desktop, so you can't do it from mobile. So once you select members, then it's going to show you this section right here that says new members this week. And then you're going to be able to click this button, and it's going to allow you to actually create a post out of this, which is really, really, really cool. Now, once Facebook has created this post, what we want to do is we want to turn this post into an anticipation post. So we want to take the post, the welcome post that Facebook is creating for us, but they're not going to create it, obviously. They're going to give us an option to make a post. And inside of it, we're going to transplant our anticipation post. And what this does is this is going to be able to tag all the new members every single week. So it's going to drive more engagement, because what's going to end up happening is when new members see this, they're going to start commenting, interacting. They're going to see, oh my God, this individual is providing so much value, which is going to get them bought in and start anticipating the live where they will actually learn from you. Okay. Now, if this is done correctly, it should look something like this. You can see that we've pasted the post at the top here, and then you can see all of the new members tagged in this section right here. And all we've done is we've just pasted the type up of the community right at the top. So what it will do is when Facebook natively creates this, it will just create a whole bunch of names, and then you're going to have to come in and actually paste the text on top of it, okay? And format it the right way. Now, the text that goes along with this is we've created an example right here for you guys. And we'll show you exactly where this goes. So this will go right after your anticipation copy that you've written. So at the top is going to be your anticipation copy, and then right below that is going to be this. And so it's going to say, P.S. If you're a brand new member, welcome. We typically host a live around helping men do X, Y, and Z. As you can see, we're hosting one tomorrow at X, Y, and Z time about, and then you can tweak this right here about what is the live about. We've had many new brothers join the community in the past few days. So if you see your name below, let us know if you will be attending the first live training. So now we're creating engagement. And then let's drop a quick welcome for our new members. And so you're going to tag new members, right? So if we just scroll up here, this is what it's going to look like, as you can see, right? Let's go ahead and welcome our new members. And then again, welcome to the community. Let us know if you'll need the replay. And this is getting more engagement because now people that are being tagged, they're commenting replay, and it's bumping all of this up. And so this entire section, like I said, is going to go right below the copy of the anticipation post. So you'll have your main copy up here. So you'll have your main copy, and this is just a continuation of the post. It's not a separate post, it's just a continuation, and you can see the image right below right here. Okay, now moving along, part 4, this is a bonus of tagging all members in your post. Okay, so I want to really go over that quickly so you can understand that. Once you've made the post in the community, you have the option to literally tag everybody inside of the group, inside of your community. So get the notification and it'll drive more engagement. Now, you can do this with every post that you make. But as a reminder, you're only allowed to actually do this once per day. The cool thing is we're only going to be posting inside of the community 3 days a week, if that. So it's perfect frequency. So how you tag everybody is that in the comments of the anticipation post, you can do this to any post. You go into the comments, and what you're going to do is you're going to type at everyone. So let me show you what that actually looks like. Okay. So you're going to go into the comments of whatever post that you're making. You're going to type at everyone. Okay. At everyone. And then this option should appear, and then you want to select this option, and then you want to press enter. And voila. What you've done is you've tagged in one single go every member inside of the community. And what's going to happen is they're going to get a notification, right? Their notification is going to go off on Facebook, and it's going to let them know that you've tagged them inside of a post, because that will actually make people want to go check out the anticipation post or whatever post that you're boosting at that time. Now, this is optional. If you don't want to do this, you do not have to. We recommend this because what it does, it gets the lurkers notification so they consume your content, and they will eventually likely want to work with you as well. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our training on the anticipation post. If you have any questions about this section or anything that we've discussed, make sure to go ahead and ask inside of the community. And the anticipation post, just as a reminder, this type of anticipation post is specific to the live trainings that you're going to be doing inside of your community. Okay. So this anticipation post is specifically for that. The different anticipation posts for when you're launching a program, for when you're doing a promo cycle, those are going to be different. And we're going to be covering that inside of another training. So with that being said, this concludes the anticipation post team, and I will catch you guys in the next training section. All right, team, welcome back to this training section where we're going to be talking about live trainings. And this is going to be my favorite section where I get to coach you through this entire process and give you the knowledge that you need to have killer live trainings inside of your community. So without further ado, let's jump in and start rocking and rolling. So if Facebook was to only allow us one post per week, if that was the only thing that we could do, we would prioritize this over any other piece of content. Because the live training is going to be the biggest value add that you do to your community. And in a way, it allows you to interact. It allows you to share your knowledge, your expertise with the people inside of your community. It's literally the way that you're going to be interacting with hundreds and thousands of people. And what will happen is that people will start to resonate with your energy and your messaging and your personality. And this is very big because this will allow you to attract the right type of client. So the benefits of the live training are that the live training gets your prospect primed to buy by tagging them in the comments. So let's say you had a conversation with somebody a month ago and you thought about them and you think that, hey, this live will help them. You can go ahead and actually tag them in the comments so you're always doing a follow-up. You can also share the live stream between quick chats and strategy sessions. So you're going to be doing something called a 2-call close, where you do a introductory call where you get to know them. And then if they're a good fit, you're going to take them over to the strategy session. So those people that you book a strategy session with, you can actually share a live training. You can share a live training before they jump on a quick chat. It allows you to earn trust faster with the people, okay, which we're going to learn about inside of the setter processes module. Then the third benefit is that you can go ahead and use live streams as an angle for follow-ups. And that's something we'll teach you inside of the setter module as well. And another benefit is after a while, this goes back to the thing that we were talking about the compound effect of your community. You're going to have such good amount of content inside of your community that people will come into your community and they're going to consume multiple trainings and they're going to get primed to sign up because they've consumed and built so much trust with you. Now, benefit number 5 is live trainings will also allow you to build a culture and push people who you want to work with closer to you and people who you don't want to work with far away. Because we want to make sure that we can build a community of people that are like-minded, that are looking for the same thing, and the people that are not wanting that, we can actually push them away. Now, really quickly, what I'd like to go over is what should the focus of the live training be? Now, the focus and the goal of the live training is to sell your prospects or your people on your marketing thesis. Okay, so the first part of this is getting them to believe the marketing thesis. And then what you're also doing is you're actually explaining your unique mechanism and your frameworks of your process of getting your people to the paradise. Now, there are 3 types of live trainings that you can do inside of your community. Again, these are just the ones that we have found that have worked best for us. Try them out, and once you get the hang of them, then iterate on your own, meaning create your own style, make your own version of them, because first you have to replicate, then you can innovate. So now let's actually dive into the 3 types of live trainings. Now there's 3 types of live trainings that exist that we have found that work the best for us. Number 1 is the client interviews. Okay, this is interviews that you can do with your client, and I'll explain that in just a second. We also found Q&As to do really well, and belief shifting values. So let's actually break down the first one. So client interviews, these are very straightforward. When a client is actually getting results inside of your program, what you do is you create an anticipation post telling people about the results that they received. You're going to bring them on, and then you're going to ask them questions, and you're going to stream it live into your community. That's pretty much it. What this will do is this will actually come in handy later because now you have a video testimonial that you can use on your website. You can use it on YouTube. You can place it anywhere. And that's always going to be inside of the community. So if anybody sees it, guess what's going to happen? It's going to lead them to wanting to work with you more. And you can also send this to prospects that are thinking about signing up. And they're like, hey, I'd like to see a testimonial. Well, here you go. I did one inside of the community. Now you have an asset that will allow you to get more clients consistently, and it only took you once to do. Now, moving along, the second type of live that you can do is a Q&A. And all you're doing with Q&As is that you're taking simple, common questions that you're hearing inside of the community or you're hearing during your quick chats, because this is where you'll get a lot of the feedback, and then you take that and you answer it in a live training. We recommend actually doing what we call a topic Q&A rather than an AMA, which is just ask me anything. This is kind of like you go on and you just go, hey, ask me anything. And people will start asking you about the weather and what you ate yesterday. We don't want that. Those become long and drawn out, and it doesn't provide people with any value, and it just becomes a whole mess. So a topic Q&A allows you to narrow down on a specific topic. Now, for example, this would be a topic Q&A. Why does weight loss get harder when you're stressed? Right? Because the specific topic now is weight loss and stress. Now that I have a specific topic Q&A, I'm not going to be talking about gaining muscle mass in this Q&A, right? So what this will do is it will actually get specific people who are facing this specific problem to attend and even watch the replay. It also gives people the idea that they can engage with you and ask you questions, and you will be able to help them. So now the community is not just you posting content, it's much more than that. And then lastly, it'll help you focus on a specific problem that you solve, which you can always relate back to your program. Because at the end of the day, all of this that we are doing is so that it leads people to making a buying decision from you. Okay. Now moving along to the third type of a live training that we do, it's believe shifting value. And by far, in my opinion, these are the most powerful. I'm going to remind you of this quote. We question all of our beliefs except for the ones that we truly believe in, then those we never think to question. Now, these types of live trainings allow you to truly challenge your prospect and make them think differently, because if they think differently, they're going to act differently. So when you could get somebody to think differently, they immediately will place you as an authority on the matter, because doctors get you to think differently. Your lawyers get you to think differently. Right? Because not only will you get them to think differently, but you're going to give them new beliefs to think about, especially beliefs that inspire them, and especially beliefs that are going to allow them to get over the hurdle. Because people need someone to look up to, right? People need something to believe in. They do not have the courage to believe in themselves, so they need someone or something to believe in until they can start believing in themselves. That is how you build a community and a culture where you're uplifting people and you're challenging them to be better. Imagine someone came into your community and their life completely changed, and that was all because of you. Now, how do you actually go about sharing this? How do you actually go about breaking people's beliefs, right? And the way you're going to do that is you're going to do that by sharing the what, right? What the problem or challenge that people are facing. And number two, why? Why they need to make the change and approach the problem in a different way. As you can see here, this concept of why keeps coming up. It came in the anticipation post. You have to tell people why what you are sharing is important, because it's important to you and it's not important to them. So you have to create the same urgency. You have to create these same parameters, or you have to create the same conditions for them to understand the way that you are understanding or the way that you are looking at it. You kind of have to bring people into your lens. And the way you do that is by sharing the why. Because most people are problem aware. They only know that they have a problem, but they don't know or have the knowledge on how to fix it. We call these types of people problem aware. Okay. Now you have those people that understand solutions, right? They understand the solution that's out there. So these people are solution aware. This is a little bit more of a sophisticated buyer. Okay. Now, in our opinion, it's safe to say that majority of people in the health space and people that are trying to be healthier version of themselves are problem aware. They know they have a problem. They just don't know how to fix it. So our goal as leaders is to articulate the problem that they are facing in this current moment. What does that mean? We want to be able to let them know that we understand the problem that they are facing. That's kind of like verbal mirroring, but in a content standpoint. So in a live, you can share something along the lines of, hey, I understand that you're going through this. I understand what it feels like to go through X. I understand what it feels like to try to button up your jeans and nothing comes through, and you can't even wear a belt and everything's really tight. I understand what it feels like to have under the arm jiggle. Right? And so what you're saying is you're relating to the individual. You're understanding the problem that they're facing. I understand that there is no time in the day for you to work on yourself. Then we need to explain why what they are doing will not work and why the new way, right? This all goes back to your marketing swipe file and what you've created, why the new way is better. And remember, All of these things are from your free asset training. All of this stuff is from your marketplace swipe file because that's where you're going to be getting a lot of this context from. And this is the work that you've already done. You've already done this. Now you just have to explain it to your people. So now that you understand the 3 types of lives, let's actually talk about the structure of live trainings. Okay. Now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty to help you understand the different parts that go into the live stream. Now, first, what we're going to go over is we're going to go over the structure of the live training. Then we're going to discuss the 2 types of live training scripts. Okay. So just as a reminder, there are 3 types of lives that you can do. Okay, 3 types of live trainings that you can do. 1 is client interviews, 2 is Q&As, 3 is belief shifting value. Now there's a structure that you can follow to those lives, and then there are 2 types of live training scripts that exist that you can go based off of. Now the live training itself is broken up into 4 parts. Okay, part number 1 is going to be intro. Part number 2 is going to be teaching and training. Part 3 is going to be call to action, and part 4 is going to be Q&A, which is optional. Now, the ideal timing for a live training is about 30 to 40 minutes. Anything longer, then it's useless and people start to drop off. It could definitely be shorter than 30 minutes, which is no problem at all, but anything longer than 40 minutes, you're going to start losing people. So with that being said, let's actually jump into part number 1, which is all about the intro. Now, in the intro, our goal is we're going to start off the live and we're going to ask people to comment replay. Why do we want to do this? Because when people comment replay, it's going to bump up the live. More people are going to see it. More people are going to engage. More people are going to comment. More people are going to want to get on a call with you. Okay. Then you're going to have a short 2-liner about what you're going to be covering today. Now, this could be longer. This could be shorter depending on the topic. You can introduce who you are, right? And what you do and why you're doing this. And then you're going to get people hyped up for the training. Now, time limit for the intro should be no more than 5-minute tops. Okay. Now, as you can see here, we have an example for you. And this right here is a start plus comment replay. As you can see here, hey, happy Tuesday. If you guys can hear me okay, drop a comment. We're just having people comment. We're having people engage. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Then right away, if you watch the replay, comment replay so I know you got the info. And what this is going to do is most people are going to watch the replay, but it's just going to keep the live circulating for a while so more and more people can actually watch it, okay? Then you go into what we're going to cover today. I'm not going to read this so you guys can actually go through this. And then you're going to introduce yourself, right? You can actually add a story if it's actually applicable of how you got to where you are, what led you to wanting to make this happen. Now, there's other elements that you can share story later down the line as well, but you're also going to be sharing what we do is essentially X, Y, and Z, okay? So that was part 1 of the live stream, which was the intro. Now, moving along to part 2, which is the teaching and the training. Now, the teaching and the training is going to be heart of the entire live training. Now, one thing to remember before going into teaching and training, you have to give context to what you're about to share and why it's so important. This goes back to everything that I've been talking about. You have to let people know what you're sharing and why you're sharing it and why it's actually important. The big part of the live stream, majority of the live stream at the beginning, especially in the teaching and training section, is explaining the why, right? Explaining why things are important. Otherwise, what you will share is not going to be as valuable. So you have to create value in what you're about to share. And the way you do that is you say, hey, this is why I'm about to share with you. This is why this is important. This is why you need to pay attention. Because if there's no why, they're not going to pay attention. Because what will happen with the information is that it might be valuable to you, but it might not be valuable to the person watching on the other side. So part of the teaching and training at the beginning is you want to spend the time to explain why the frameworks or the concept that you're sharing is really important and why they need to focus on this. If you assign real meaning to the knowledge that you are sharing, without meaning, none of the information that you're going to give is going to matter. That's why you must sell people on the why of why the idea is so important before telling them the idea itself. Now, if you're talking about sleep for this example, you want to talk about why sleep actually matters first before doing anything else, before telling them how to improve their sleep. And so the teaching and training can actually last about 20 to 30 minutes depending on the topic. Now, here's an example of what teaching and training is going to look like. So you can start with a section that goes into introducing limiting beliefs that people have. Okay, this is going to be going back to breaking people's beliefs. Then you can shift their beliefs. And so part of explaining the why is this whole entire section, the first part, is explaining the why. Why is this important? In this example, we're doing this by introducing limiting beliefs and shifting beliefs. Then you can get into a mini story about the frameworks of how you discovered the frameworks. Okay, so if you didn't share a story in the introduction, you can actually share a story in the training and teaching section if you wanted to do it that way. Then right after that, you're going to get into your core frameworks, all right, your pillars. So as you can see, our pillars or our frameworks were fitness, nutrition, and if I scroll down, accountability, okay? And so we are going deep into our frameworks inside of the teaching process. Now, you can actually share all 3 or 4 or 5 of your frameworks, or you could just share one. It's completely up to you. Now, once you've actually done that, once you've actually gone through the training and teaching section, part 3 of this is going to be all about the call to action. Okay, it's going to be all about the call to action. And this is going to be very important because this is where we get people to actually want to schedule a call with you. Because once you've delivered value and you've wowed people, now it's time to ask them to do something specific for us. And our recommended call to action is to book a free call. Because we know the more calls we book, the more conversations we're going to have, then it's going to lead us to having more clients. So we have people comment a specific word towards the end of the live training. Now, the CTA should take no more than 5 to 10 minutes. My recommendation is spend the 10 minutes and sell the call. Because if you sell the call and why the call is important, guess what people are going to do? They're going to actually want to jump on a call with you. Now, again, I want to remind you that these are not hardcore times that we are sharing. It doesn't have to be 5 minutes on the dot. It doesn't have to be 10 minutes. If it's 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, it's absolutely okay. This is not gospel, okay? We're just sharing parameters of the things that we have found that worked best for us for many, 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 many years. So now let's dive into an example of what a call to action looks like. So I'm actually going to skim through this. I'm not going to read this through so you guys can study this on your own. So at first, I start with something called the question slide. So I'm going to ask a series of questions that's going to get people to actually start engaging. It's going to get people to actually start thinking. It's going to get them to actually slowly transition, because transitions I have found are the most difficult when you're doing anything, even in sales. And so the best way to actually do it is by asking questions. Okay. Then you get into a very bold statement like, hey, the reality is you can't do it alone. This statement is very universal. People understand this, right? You can't do it alone. You need somebody who's done it to show you the ropes. Otherwise, you won't know what you're doing. Would you just get off of a plane? Like, would you jump out of a plane if you've never done it before? No. If you skydive, you need an instructor first, right? So the biggest mistake that I see busy moms making is that they get so hung up on working out and dieting, and when the motivation leaves or they're unable to stick to it, they beat themselves up. And this keeps happening in vicious cycles, and you have to either keep doing the same thing and keep exactly getting where you want, or you're going to have to put the foot down and make a change, right? Because nothing changes if nothing changes. So if you'd like to partner up with us, and if that's something you want us to help you overcome, write coach in the comments below. And then I go into describing what it looks like to partner up with us, right? Then you tell them, hey, once you comment coach, my team and I are going to reach out to you. So you let them know what is happening after they've commented that word, right? We're going to invite you to a 10 to 15 minute chat on the call. This is what's going to happen. 1, 2, 3, right? And this is the same call that the clients that have gotten phenomenal results. You name off your clients. They've gotten all these calls as well that I'm offering to you today. And then we put the cherry on top. This is not a sales call, because it's not a sales call. It's a discovery call. We're genuinely trying to help the person. If we can't help them, we're not going to sell them, right? It's not a sales call. We have nothing to sell you. And that we say that blatantly because it's not a sales call. It's a discovery call. Plus, another reason why you should comment coach, because worst case scenario, you hop on the call, so you tell them what the worst case scenario will be. So what you're doing is you're actually painting the full picture of what's going to happen when they schedule a call. Okay. Then we get into this entire section where we go, hey, if you decide to watch this video and not schedule a call, okay, if you're one of those where you don't schedule a call, think about the alternatives. right? You're going to end up doing the same thing, all the negative factors that happen to it. And then we add a little bit of humor to it. Even if you want to do those things, even if you don't want to get results, still schedule a call, because what's the worst that could happen? You'll learn the true direction that you need to go so you don't end up wasting your time and energy. And what we're doing is, over this entire section of the call to action, we are just selling that 10 to 15 minute phone call. Notice how much time and energy I'm putting into it, and I'm approaching it from different angles. If you do this correctly, you're going to have your calendar filled on a weekly basis with people that want to talk to you. Most people just give a very short call to action, and they don't explain why the call to action is actually important. Okay. And this is what we're doing this entire time. Then we ask questions. Would this be worth to you? This could be the game changer for you. Maybe this year you'll go from struggling with your weight to thriving and feeling your best. Notice how we're like painting this picture of what's going to happen if they schedule a call. And so we want to allow them to actually see that this is the best thing that they're going to ever do since having sliced bread. And so that is why it's so important to actually sell the call, or sell the call to action. And then, very big, bold statement right here. If you want us to help you save time and money free of charge, comment coach below. It's absolutely free. Even though it's free, we're still taking 10 minutes to sell this entire thing. And you guys can read this through and understand this and mimic this and change this for yourself. But the whole point of this entire spiel is to get the 10-minute call. Because if you just said, hey, book a 10-minute call, no one's going to do it. But now we're explaining why it's important, how you're going to get the best outcomes from scheduling this 10-minute call. If you don't schedule this 10-minute call, what's going to happen? And so we painted this massive picture for these people. So it's unreasonable for them not to book a call. Does that make sense? So now going into part number 4, so we've actually gone through the 3 parts, which is the intro, the teaching and training, and the call to action. Now part 4 is Q&A. Now this is optional. We would do this very rarely, but you can actually throw this in there. Now this is completely up to you if you want to engage in a Q&A. At the beginning, when your community is small, you won't get a ton of people asking questions. But as you grow, you can engage in a few questions toward the end of the lives based on the things that people are asking in the comments. So what we've done and what we've experienced in the past is, when we did strategy sessions, we would write down all the objections that we would get during the call. And then in the live trainings, we would focus on one objection every single week, and we would tackle that objection from start to finish. Okay. Now, as a reminder, the Q&A should not take more than 5 minutes. Okay. So let's dive into this example. So for this example, the objection that we're trying to handle is, I don't think I have the time to take care of my health. Okay. And so this is how I would approach this Q&A. And so let's begin. Now, I get this question a lot on the coaching calls that I have done this week. And that question is, I don't think I have the time to take care of my health, right? How many of you guys say that to yourself? And I get it. Sometimes we're overwhelmed. It's hard to see a way out. We have tons of clients who started with me and now have lost 15, 20, 30 pounds who have used to say the exact same thing. But when I asked them what motivated them to make the change, they told us one thing that was the biggest wake-up call for them. And then when I asked what motivated them to make a change, they said, you told us one thing that was the biggest wake-up call for us. And I'm going to share that one wake-up call with you, and I hope that it motivates you to start taking massive action. And that's what I want to share with you for those of you that think that you don't have time. So let me ask you a question. For those of you that have kids, you love your kids, right? You love your spouse. And notice how I'm asking questions, guys. I'm going to break frame here. I'm going to actually go into coaching mode, right? Notice I'm asking questions. I'm breaking it down. I'm chunking it down. It's pretend as if you're selling, but now you're just selling on your live training. So I'm going to fast forward this a little bit, and I kind of go into, and you can read this, right? We vote with our dollars and our time with what's most important to us. You spend money and time with your family because it's important to you, right? So by saying that you don't have the time to be healthy, what you're saying is that your health is not important to you because you're not voting with your dollars or your time. Because if it was important to you, then you would be taking the necessary steps that you would start working with a coach to fast track your results. So it's not a matter of time, it's a matter of priority. Notice how I changed their belief, right? People came in thinking that they don't have time. Now I'm getting them to believe that it's a matter of priority. And then we give a bunch of examples. We work with tons of women who are busier, yet they still make the time to take care of their health. It's not an excuse. And then we finish it off by saying, hey, if you have not commented coach, I would do it so you can get a free call with us so we can help you and stop dilly-dallying and start making a change. And then you end the live. But notice how I'm like, there's so many call to actions for that free call. So it's unreasonable for you not to have people get on a free call with you. So moving along here, those were the 4 parts to the live stream. So we talked about the intro, we talked about the teaching and training, the call to action, and the Q&A, which is optional. Now you can take some of the scripts that we've shared with you all along up here and break this down, turn it into your own script, use this as a framework, and actually tweak this until you create your style yourself. Now, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions about this section or anything that we discussed, make sure that you go ahead and ask us inside of the student community. Now, when you're doing your lives, if you do your first live and you want to share it with us and you want to give feedback, that would be absolutely phenomenal, because then we can tell you where you can improve, how you can dig a little bit deeper, how you can break people's beliefs. So with that being said, team, that concludes the live training section, and I will catch you guys in the next section. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. And in this training section, we're going to be going over the value post. So without further ado, let's get rocking and rolling. So the goal of the value post is to shift beliefs, right? We're trying to take the people that are inside of our community and we're trying to get them to think differently. And when we can get them to think differently, it will help them move the needle forward to help them make a purchasing decision. Because at the end of the day, we want as many people inside of our community to actually want to work with us. And that's going to happen if we go ahead and start changing and shifting their beliefs. So how do you make content that helps people overcome their limiting beliefs and gets them to buy? That's $1 million question. And it all comes down to you shifting their beliefs, right? Taking the beliefs that they currently have and giving them new beliefs by breaking down the old one. Now, this is not just applicable to the value posts. This can also be applied to any other type of content that you put out there. It could be applied to your lives, which obviously it's going to be. It could be applied to your client wins. It could be applied to any content that you ever produce. And it should, because majority of the time, all you have to do is break beliefs and instill new ones. Now, these are just principles of marketing, and we're just applying it specifically to the value post when it comes to your community content. Okay. Now, when it comes to shifting belief within a value post, there's actually 4 ways that we can actually do that. So let's actually dive deeper and explain to you those 4 ways. So the first way to break a belief is that you're going to break a belief around a specific topic. Okay, it's going to be around a specific topic. Now, here's a framework for breaking beliefs in general. Now, it could be used for any type of belief that you are trying to break, but this can also be applied to any type of belief that you're trying to break, any type of post that you're trying to make as well. So, number 1, what you have to do is you have to pick a specific topic, right? For this topic, I'll go ahead and pick menopause. Number 2 is, what is a common belief around menopause and weight loss? Because that's what you're probably doing, right? The common belief is that when you're in menopause, you cannot lose weight, right? And so that's a common belief, or it becomes difficult to lose weight. Then what you're going to do is you're going to write a post or make a piece of content attacking that belief and then sharing a new belief, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to attack the old belief first, and then you're going to give them a new belief. And this goes back to everything that you guys know about the old way versus the new way. Okay, it's very similar to that concept. Now let's go ahead and give you an example of what it would look like for a specific topic. So this is a post that you can read through. This is a post that I wrote a while ago on why menopause is not causing your weight gain. And then what you do is you actually break that belief, because you're allowing men to blame menopause for your weight gain, but it's time to do something about it. And if you have menopause and you can't seem to lose weight, try this. So now we get into specific things. Now, the biggest thing that I hear is cravings, because the menopause fairy didn't tell you to snack at night. You did it yourself. So instead, try this, okay? And then it's more belief breaking. Your metabolism isn't slowing down. You're just finding excuses on why you can't lose weight, right? And so this is a little bit harsh. It doesn't paint a clear example of breaking beliefs because I could have done a better job with this, but it illustrates the point of how I'm sprinkling in and changing people's belief around a specific topic and what they can do differently. Okay. And as you can see here, this is the full post with an image that went along with it. Now, the second type of beliefs that you can break are beliefs around investing in coaching. Okay. And we all know this. People have hesitations about investing into themselves, right? They view coaching as an expense rather than as an investment. So you're a coach, right? You had to invest into RWA. You're somebody who had to make the decision to invest into yourself. And this type of value post is centered around you hiring and investing into yourself and kind of your thought process, what your fears were, and what the outcome was to get to your goals. And most people are really just too afraid to invest into themselves, so they need inspiration around doing that to get them to their goals faster. And this will allow you to actually push the needle forward with your clients, again, making a buying decision from you because you're allowing them to see that investing in coaching is absolutely normal. Okay? Now, let's move on to belief type number 3, which is objection handling. Okay. And this is a great way to hit objections that people have when they get on a phone call with you, right? You're doing a strategy session and they hit you with an objection. Oh, I need to talk to my husband, or I need to think about it, or I need to do this, or I need to do that. Now, when you do strategy sessions and someone doesn't buy from you, write down their objections and make a post about that. And in the post, you want to challenge their thought process, very similar to how we did the Q&A inside of the live training. You're doing the same thing, and you're going to give them an alternative solution because you can't just handle the objection. You got to give them something else to do or something else to go through so they actually take massive action. Now, the fourth way of breaking beliefs is going to be pulling your people close. Now, this type of belief breaking or belief shifts is all about making it known in the community the type of client that you want to work with. And this is going to get a little heated, right? Because what you're doing is you're calling out those people that are not a good fit, right? And why they're not a good fit to work with you. And what this is doing is you're actually creating a separation between the clients that you want and the type of clients that you don't want. Because the goal is to attract the right type of client. I can't warn you guys enough. Sometimes you'll be on a strategy session and there's a client that you know you shouldn't be signing up, but you do it anyway because in the moment you're like, yes, I'm going to help this person. But 2 months down the road, they're the biggest headache. It's because you did not do the due diligence of clearly identifying this is the type of client that I want to work with. And this is what we call polarizing marketing. Because if you're too nice, then it doesn't give people an idea of where you stand. Because people respect leaders. People respect people of authority who abide and hold true to their values. So if you are somebody that's like, hey, I only want to work with this type of person, then you're going to stick and work with this type of person. So when we were running our own remote wellness practice, in our posts, we used to clearly say, hey, we only work with people who are looking for a long-term solution, not a quick fix. We want people who are willing to do the work and folks that are willing to invest into themselves. If that's not you, please do not comment on working with us. In a recent community we launched, we actually called people out, the type of people that we want to work with, and we said, hey, you have our full permission to go up to the top of the group and actually leave because we only want these types of people inside of our community. And what that did, it allowed us to start creating this identity of the type of people that got the best results, which made people who were not serious leave, and we kept those that actually wanted to change for good. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, those were the 4 ways on how you can accomplish shifting people's beliefs and breaking people's beliefs and instilling new ones, and the 4 different ways that you can actually accomplish that inside of a value post. If you have any questions about this section or anything that we've discussed, make sure to go ahead and ask inside of the student community, and we will catch you guys in the next section. All right, team, welcome back. And in this section, we're going to be talking about something really awesome and something very, very, very useful inside of your community, which is called the hand raiser posts. Now, these are going to be your bread and butter. So I want to make sure that you buckle in, you get strapped into your rocket ship, and we're going to blast off into space, and we're going to make this training really, really, really awesome. So a friendly reminder, because us as human beings, we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. The entire goal of the community is not to sell. The goal of the community is to start conversations. Now, those conversations would lead towards strategy sessions, and strategy sessions are what get people to want to buy when people actually attend strategy sessions with you. Now, hand raiser posts are the easiest way to start conversations that lead to strategy sessions. That's why we're reminding you of this. And so what hand raiser posts do, it gets people to raise their hand and say, hey, I want to know about what you're offering. I like what you're offering. And we don't do this every single week because the frequency should be every other week. Otherwise, it creates something called banner blindness, which we talked about earlier, and then people become immune to it and they stop engaging. Okay. Now, as you're doing this, you also want to make sure that these are set up as the Facebook colorful posts. So they should be set up like this because these drive the most engagement. Okay. And this is where you'll be able to type a large text with a color background because, like I said, it's going to drive the most engagement. Now, there are two types of hand raiser posts that we're going to be talking about specifically. We're going to be talking about direct hand raiser post and indirect hand raiser post, and we're going to be explaining the difference between the two. So jumping into this, the first one we're going to talk about is the direct hand raiser post. Okay. And this is more of a direct offer or something people who are really interested will take you up on, okay? These types of hand raisers, they get less engagement, right? Because it's a very direct call to action. So less people will comment, but the ones that comment are actually serious about taking the next step. So you're actually going to get a lot of clients from a direct hand raiser post. Okay. Now, in many instances, there are those people who watch your lives and they want to learn more, but since there aren't any links inside of the community, there's no like direct way to reach out to you inside of the community except for commenting or engaging. What a direct hand raiser post will do, it'll kind of become the window for you to start to have a conversation with them. It'll kind of facilitate that. Now, I want to remind you, we want to use these sparingly. We don't recommend them doing them once per month. Otherwise, you're just going to burn out your audience. Many newbies will hear that and they're going to start just posting these on a weekly basis. I guarantee you it's going to burn your people out. Trust me, we've already done it. We've already made the mistake because what it's going to do, it's going to reduce goodwill. Because remember, going back to the example of deposits and withdrawals, all you're freaking doing is you're doing withdrawals. And eventually you will no longer have anything to withdraw from because you have not made any deposits. Right? So you want to make sure that you're using these sparingly. Now, here are a few examples of what direct hand raisers will look like. Okay. So direct hand raisers can look something like this. I'm looking for 5 people who are ready to do X, Y, and Z. I have X spots available for my next program. So you can see right here, this one says looking for 5 women to join my exciting new group coaching program. Comment me to learn more. Notice how it's very, very, very direct. And what we're trying to do is we're getting those people who are like, yes, I want to join a program. Tell me more about this. Okay. So that's the first type of hand raiser post. Now, the second type of hand raiser post we're going to get into is something called a indirect hand raiser post. Now, the goal of the indirect hand raiser post is to give something away for free. Okay, what you're doing is, again, going back to withdrawals and deposits, right? What you're doing is you're giving more stuff away for free, and this will allow you to start having conversations inside of the community. So what you're doing is you have a gift for people, and then you're saying, hey, if you want this gift, comment, and I'm going to give you this gift, and you do give them the gift, but you also start a conversation with them as well, okay? Now, this is more of a give and take. And what we do is we lead in, like I said, with the freebie. It's a gift. And then you get the conversation going, and then you take that to the strategy session, which we'll dive into more inside of the setter module. Now, that's why this will come in handy because you will need this. You will need the content to actually facilitate your setter processes. Okay. Now, the indirect hand raiser will lead to a lot of comments, and it's not going to lead to a lot of sales because it's indirect. right? You're approaching it from an angle. But what it does, like I said, it generates a ton of goodwill because you're providing value first. Now, these types of posts become evergreen. What does that mean? They always stay inside of your community and people will consistently comment. Like you'll make a post, you'll make an indirect hand raiser post, and a year from now, someone will come in and see it, they'll comment on it, and it's going to bump it up to the top, and then you'll get a gang of people again commenting and going nuts after what it is, and therefore you're getting more conversations. It also allows you to open the door for more follow-ups with old prospects. So let's say you spoke with somebody 3 months ago, and you've been checking in with them, they haven't been responding. And then all of a sudden they comment on the indirect hand raiser post, and then guess what you do? You go ahead and shoot them a message, you follow up based on your last conversation, and you give them that freebie. So what allows you to do, this allows you to get the convo going, and then you can invite them into your next live, you can actually invite them into another call, you can get them to the next phase if they're ready to buy. Right? And this is where you can do leadership-based follow-ups as well, which again, you will learn in the setter processes module. So now here's a few examples of what indirect hand raiser posts actually look like. So you can see this first one right here, which is, hey team, we recently released a free training. See that? That's the freebie, free training on X, Y, and Z. Little side note, this also helped Thomas do this. Comment yes below. So you can see here, this was early engagement. It started getting 5 comments, right? Then you could see here, hey, if I did a training video showing exactly how a client lost 18 pounds of fat in a month while eating food she loved, yes, carbs, would you watch, right? So what you're doing is now you're getting engagement. This one got 30 comments. So this one didn't have the word free. So you'll notice that the ones where you're giving away something for free, people are likely going to comment more. Here's the one that performed the best for us, okay? I created a healthy food list, right? Freebie, and it shows healthy carbs, proteins, and fats. Comment me and I'll send it to you, right? Notice how we're doing that? We're actually leading in with the freebie. This is something that people want. People want to understand healthy carbs, fats, and proteins, right? Of course they're going to want that for free. And that's what leads to 108 comments. So that is the main difference between direct and indirect hand raiser posts. So direct hand raiser posts are very straight to the point. You're trying to get people who are interested to take action right away versus the indirect hand raiser posts. You're leading in with the freebie, starting more conversations, providing goodwill, and then you're going for the withdrawals on the back end. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that was the training on hand raiser posts, the difference between indirect and direct, and which one to use and how often to use them. Just as a reminder, guys, make sure that the direct hand raiser post, you're not using it more than once a month. You will burn out your audience versus the indirect. You can use that once or twice a month max, but even then we recommend only using them once per month because if you use them too often, then it just becomes a group where you're just sharing random stuff for free and you want to actually avoid that. So you want to actually limit that so your audience doesn't expect stuff for free all the time. So if you have any questions about the section or anything that we discussed, make sure that you ask inside of the student community and we'll catch you guys in the next section. All right, team, welcome back. And in this section, we're going to be talking about client wins. Now, this is going to be a quick training walking you through how to actually create client win post, right? And how you're going to actually be able to showcase your client wins. So this post is all about showcasing the results that your clients are getting, right? And it's as simple as giving your clients a shout out for the hard work that they're doing or the hard work that they've actually done or the results that they've accomplished, right? You can also add a picture and I'll show you what that looks like in the examples in just a second, right? Maybe a message that they sent you, right? They texted you or they sent you a message inside of TCK about the results that they're getting. You can screenshot that and use that as a client wins post. So let's go over a few examples of what it would actually look like. So this is what the copy of the post looks like, right? Very straightforward. I lead in with a little bit of a hook, and then I go into, hey, just want to give her a huge shout out. Her coach, her nutrition has been dialed in. The team is extremely proud of you and what you've accomplished. Thank you so much for being a part of the program. Now, we're not trying to get any call to action. What we're just trying to drop in there is a client appreciation inside of the community. And what it's going to do, it's going to get people to see, wow, this program gets results. I want to learn more, a little bit more about it, right? And then you can see here, I've attached a testimonial before and after picture here. and you can utilize that and do it the same way if you have a before and after picture of the client as well. So that's one way to do a client win post. Now, another way is that you can take a screenshot, right? So this used to be our weekly intake form that we used to send our clients. And in there, right, you can see here a client just gave a whole bunch of feedback, right? Yes, my father has noticed my improvement in my appearance. My face looks thinner. My skin looks clear. And my overall general health has improved. Notice that? So what we're sharing is live feedback that we're getting from the clients. And here's the copy that actually went along with it, right? This one's a little bit more of a motivational post. So you can see here, I'm inspiring people, right? See, this is where I actually share the weekly progress update from one of our coaching clients. How many of you guys, and I ask a question, right? Comment this. So this one has a little bit more of a call to action, but very similar, giving a shout out to a client for the results that they have gotten. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that was the client wins training section. If you have any questions about the section, go ahead and drop them inside of the student community. Anything you need clarity on, if you want us to review a client wins post whatsoever, we can do so as well to make sure that we are providing feedback. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to conclude the client wins section, and we'll catch you guys in the next training section. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And in this training section, we're going to be going over the question post. So let's jump in and start kicking some major butt. So the goal of the question post is to help drive engagement, especially in the early stages of your community. Because what's going to happen is you're going to have less people inside of the community. That's just a fact. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that the community is active. So we actually want to limit this and only do this 1 to 2 times per month. Why? Because what it'll actually do is it actually gets fizzled out. Then it actually doesn't set the right expectation for people, because then it becomes too gimmicky if you're posting questions all the time. So the goal of this type of post is to get people to start commenting and engaging on a post. And then what it'll do, it's actually training them in the future to start commenting on your hand raiser post. Now, another benefit of this, it allows you to start having conversations in the comments, because you can start answering some of their questions. You can actually turn that into messenger conversations, which will then turn into quick chats or strategy sessions. Now, when designing a question post, we recommend making it related to your people and the problem that you solve. Another benefit that you can use with the question post is that this can act as filler content for weeks that you're too busy. If you have too many strategy sessions, or you're busy with family, or you have whatever's going on, you can actually fill these in into your content calendar, which will teach you how to create. And then this will act as filler content later down the line. Now, if you need a resource or ideas to draw question posts from, here's a resource that we've attached for you that you can check that out as well. Now, you also want to make these into Facebook colorful post, right? Where you're going to be able to type large text and its colored background, because that's what's going to make it the most engaging. So let's review some examples and what that actually looks like. So you can see here at this moment, how would you rate your health and fitness habits from 1 to 10? And then we tell them exactly what is 1 and what is 10, and we get people to actually comment. Okay. So that's one type of hand raiser post. Another one is, what's your biggest challenge with losing weight, toning, and building muscle? See, everything's related to health and wellness and weight loss oriented. So that's where you can see the questions are customized for that specific purpose. All right. Then over here, we talked about stress, right? When you're stressed out after a long day, what do you crave? Savory or sweet? So we're getting people to let us know what it is that they're craving. Now, are these the only types of question posts that you can create? No. Right? Use the resources that we provided to you right here, draw ideas from them, and get creative. These are just a very simple form of questions that you can ask to drive engagement. Now, these are just examples, so you will want to create your own, and you can see what other people are doing inside of their community as well. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the question post training. If you have any questions about this section or anything discussed, make sure you go ahead and ask us in the student community, and we'll catch you guys in the next section. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everyone of all ages. Let's go ahead and talk about promo cycles. Okay. Now, promo cycles is everything that you've been doing. It's just kind of a cherry on top to give you some more ammo to start getting some more clients. Okay. It's just a tool in your tool belt. That's what I want you to understand. It's a tool in your tool belt. It does not replace what you're doing inside of your community. So you're going to continue to do the rest of your content, doing 3 to 4 posts a week if you can, or whatever you can commit to. And then you're going to commit to that. And you're going to add this on every quarter or every other month. That is the frequency of promo cycles. Now, the goal of the promo cycle is to give people an opportunity who are ready to buy from you to take action. So it's very similar to a direct hand raiser post, but it actually spans over the course of 4 days. It's kind of like most people in marketing do something called launches, right? They do these big launches that last 3 to 4 months, and it takes a bunch of time. So these are kind of like mini launches. They don't take up as much time, but you actually get better results, and they're actually simpler to execute. Now, before we jump into promo cycles and how to execute upon them, I want to make sure that we can set our expectations straight, okay? Now, when you start, some promos will do great. Some promos will flop, okay? And there might be times where you don't get any comments, you don't get any engagements, no clients from it. And I just want to let you know that is all right. Because the bigger your community, the bigger the promos. At the beginning, that might not be the case. But just by putting the reps in, you're going to develop the skill that you need to make offers. Because the more offers you make, the more clients you're going to get. It's going to challenge your copywriting skills. It will make you understand marketing better and how your messaging is actually doing. And this is actively you being able to test inside of the community. So I just want to let you know, you have been warned. And if you try this and it doesn't make you $1 million right off the get-go, don't turn into a limbic lalu. Okay, and don't throw in the towel. You are a winner. And winners do the work regardless of the outcome because they're focused on the process. And the process of doing a promo cycle is all around developing the skill. And the identity that you need to have is somebody who has grit, resilience to actually go through. So going back to what we shared earlier, focused on the process by taking the action because you will learn more from doing than sitting on the sideline. Because part of developing skills is this magic R word called reps. And if you never get the reps in, you're never going to be able to decipher between, okay, what is it that I need to be doing? What is it that I should be doing? And how is it that I need to actually be doing this? Okay. So I wanted to remind you of that because all of you guys are winners. I know all of you guys are pushing through, and I know you will continue to push through because that is what is required and that is what you need to get done. Now, moving along here, let's talk a little bit about the promotion cycle schedule, okay, or the promo cycle schedule. Now, the promo cycle schedule is built out over a 4-day time span. Okay, we want to keep this short. We want to keep this sweet. Day number 1 is going to be around building anticipation. Day number 2 is you're going to announce the details. Day number 3 is going to be about doors closing tomorrow, right? Like, hey, I'm wrapping this up. And then day number 4 is going to be about final notice and closing it down. Now, an example of a promo cycle schedule, if we were to run it, right? On Monday, you would build anticipation. On Tuesday, you would announce the details. Now, let's say if you were doing a live training on Tuesday as well, you continue to do the live training, but in the live training, you're announcing the details as well. So you make a post and you announced it, right? Then on Wednesday, you let people know that the doors are closing tomorrow. And then on Thursday, you give the final notice and you actually close it down. So that's what an example schedule would look like. Now you can start this on a Tuesday. We recommend starting it on a Monday so you don't actually carry it into the weekend because no one really engages on the weekend. Try to keep this during the weekday and that's going to be the best, or that is what we found has worked the best for us over the years. Now, let's dive into day number 1 and how you're going to be able to build anticipation and show you an example of what that looks like. Now, the goal here of the anticipation, as anything, even with the anticipation post that we talked to you guys about earlier, right? It's letting people know that you're going to be releasing something big tomorrow and they just got to be prepared. Okay. You want to turn this into a meme post, right? A colorful Facebook post to make sure that it looks something like this with large text, right? And here's an example of what it would look like. Big news coming tomorrow. Okay. Now, again, this is not gospel. You guys can change this to however you like and however you speak and what you find works best. If you want to release weight and gain more energy, drop a me if you want to be notified when it drops. Okay. Drop me to be notified when it drops. So you can have multiple variations of this. This is an example that you can use. So that's day 1, right? So if you're doing this on a Monday, you'll be dropping this on a Monday. Now, moving along here to day number 2, this is where we're going to announce the details, right? After you've created anticipation, now we got to let people know what the deets are, right? We got to let people know the details about the thing that you're releasing. So after you've created some anticipation, now you have to announce the details about the thing that you are going to be releasing, right? Whether it's a new program, whether it's one-on-one coaching, whether you're launching a membership program, whatever it may be, you got to let people know. Reminder, always attach a picture to the post to boost engagement. Now, here's an example post that you can run through. It's fairly long. All these sections that are bolded, you guys can replace with your own terms and who it is that you help and how it is that you actually help them. So here's a template. Again, this is just a template for you to take a look at, right? This is not gospel. So change this, tweak this to however you want it to go. So it's fairly long, right? And once you've made the copy of the post, this is what an example image would actually look like. And this is our style. Notice this was the brand style that we ran, which was we always had text and we always had an image. So you can actually make sure that you keep it conjoined with the brand. If you just post normal pictures, go ahead and do that. If you want to have text at the top, you can do that as well. But this is on brand and we kept it that way to keep things a little bit more consistent. So that's day 2 where it's announcing the details. So this is the image. This is the entire post that you guys can actually replicate and take a look at. Now you're going to have to tweak this depending on the program that you're releasing. Okay. So if you're releasing a one-on-one coaching program, you're going to have to change here's everything that's actually included. You're going to have to change this section. Now, if you're doing a membership program, you're going to have to change what they're actually going to receive. That way you can let people know what to expect and when you're offering it till. So everything that you see here that is bolded, you're going to go ahead and change this according to who you're serving, what you're helping them with, what your method is called, what your unique mechanism is, and what's the name of your program, and yada, yada, yada. And then you're going to let them know to type the word. Notice that we drive engagement in the comments to see if they're a good fit for the program so they can get an invitation. So that is day 2 where you're going to be announcing the details. Now, moving along to day number 3. Day number 3 is just letting people know that, hey, doors are going to be closing. Right? The whole goal here is to create urgency for the late stragglers. There's always those people, right? There's some people that are hyperactive buyers. They buy immediately, right? And there's those people that take action in the last minute. So we want to be able to accommodate for both of those. And now you also need to set a deadline and time for which you will close the offer. Okay. So before here in day number 2, you had a date that you were closing the offer. Now you're going to come up with a time. Okay. And then again, as a reminder, you always want to attach a picture to these posts to boost engagement. Now, going into this, right, notice how you see here, I'm going to be increasing the price and I'm going to be closing this down April 13th at 10 p.m. Notice how specific that is. It lets people know that, man, this person means business. So here's the template of what you can follow. It's just a recap. And really what you're leaning into is that, hey, the price is going to go up, right? If you want to save, you want to do it by 10 p.m. CST by tomorrow. And if you want to do this, comment ready, and we're going to make this happen. And an example image of that is right here. Grab your spot before doors close tomorrow. And that's going to be the example image that goes with day number 3. Okay. Now, moving along, we're going to go over to day number 2, which is the final notice. Okay. And this is going to be the last post of the promo cycle, letting people know the deadline is approaching. So when I say last post, this is going to be the last post that they can take action on. There's going to be another day 4, right? And in that day 4, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be letting them know that, hey, we've shut everything down, which is going to be the next post after that. However, this one is the last post that you're letting people know that, hey, you need to take action right away. Now, we recommend doing this 8 hours before, okay? 8 hours before. So if your deadline is at 10 p.m. CST, you want to make this post 8 hours prior to the deadline, and it gives people enough time to actually take action. And then again, always attach an image to the post to boost engagement. So you can see here, it says 8 hours left to save $2,000 on my new coaching program. Then you go into the details of what it is. And then the name of the program, you're going to save $2,000 by this time. Okay. You're letting people know exactly what's going to happen, what the outcome is going to be, and what they're going to receive. Take action, type ready. Now the optional section right here is that you can actually tag people that have purchased the program. right? You tag your newest clients this week, so it actually lets people know that people are actually buying from you. Now, this is optional. If you do a promo cycle for the first time and no one's really biting, you don't really have to do this, but it gives you the ability to actually do this, and then you insert the number of clients that you've signed up, right? And then again, 8 hours left. It's constant reminders. 8 hours left to save $2,000. It's a steep discount, right? And then call to action right there. Now, the example image of this, notice how it's on brand, right? We always have a text and we have an image that follows. This is on brand. You can create your own version of this, or you can mimic what we have going on and use another image and what that process would look like for you. Or you can use another image and not have a text. It's completely up to you. We just want to make sure that we show you an example of what that actually looks like. Now, moving along here, the last post that you're going to be making is actually going to be day 4, shutting it all down. Okay. And what this does, it actually allows you to stick to your word and shut down the promo cycle, right? What many folks do is they pretend to shut it down, but they'll take a few clients on anyway. Trust me, like, you want to be true to your word and don't let people in. What this is going to do is this is actually going to allow you to create demand for yourself in the future. Like, imagine somebody comes in and you're like, hey, I'm completely full. You came in at 11 p.m. CST. Now, you can create some exceptions, but if they come like 4 days later, then I would recommend not taking them on as a client. I also recommend, once you're done with the promo cycle and once you've posted this and it's been about 24 hours of you making this shutdown post, we recommend actually deleting all of the promo cycle post from inside of the community. Because what you don't want to happen is that somebody comes into the community, they comment on the promo cycle, right? And the promo cycle is over and you can't take people on. You want to be able to take them on regularly. So what you want to go ahead and do is you just go ahead and delete the promo cycle post from inside of the community 24 hours after you go ahead and shut it down. So this could be a very simple post. And you're saying, doors are officially closed for my metabolic recharge method. Wow, what a week. This is exciting. We're going to be helping these people and we'll let you know what the results are going to be. So team, that wraps up the promo cycle training section. If you have any questions about the section or anything discussed, make sure that you ask inside of the student community. Now, as a reminder, go back and actually study a lot of the copy that we've posted inside of the promo cycle. So you want to understand, you want to tweak things, you want to change things according to what it is that you're offering, the people that you're helping, your process, and your paradise, okay? A lot of this is going to come in handy with your marketing swipe file, all right, the things that you've created, and your spice messaging. So even though we went through this fairly quickly, I highly recommend going back through, taking the time to study all of the posts so you can better understand what that process looks like. And then after you've done a few promo cycles and you've repeated them, right? And again, as a reminder, we'll remind you again, promo cycles should be done either every quarter, so every 3 months, or every other month. And the bigger your community is, the better the promo cycles will be. So if you have any questions about this section or anything discussed, make sure to go ahead and ask us inside of the student community, and we'll catch you guys in the next training section. All right, team, welcome back. And in this training, we're going to be talking about community content calendar. And this is where we're going to talk about when you should be posting, the frequency of posts, and how to actually organize that as well. So let's jump into this and start making it happen. So in this section, guys, we're going to help you understand when you should be posting inside of the community so it's less overwhelming and it'll allow you to actually stay organized. And this is one of my favorite quotes from Dwight D. Eisenhower, which is, in preparing for battle, I always found that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. Right? So there are no hard rules for when you should post and what specifically. Now, there are general guidelines for what you can follow and then create your own as you get comfortable. Okay. And what we're going to be sharing with you is not gospel. This is not going to be gospel. Okay. What remote control students do is they're going to take this and they're going to make this law. But that's not the case. This is just an example. And so we want you to be a winner and come up with your own system after you've kind of replicated our own, because you have to replicate, then you can innovate. Okay, so going back to the entire methodology of quality over quantity, we want to make sure that we have energy inside of all of our posts that we are posting and all of the content behind it. We want to make sure that it's coming from a place of inspiration. Okay, now this brings me to my point of the goal should be to commit to doing a weekly minimum that you can commit to. Okay, what is the least amount that you can do? And the least amount that someone should be able to do is at least an anticipation post and at least a live training every single week, right? If that's something you can commit to, great. Those are the two most important pieces of content, and the rest you can sprinkle in. So don't get overwhelmed. Don't allow yourself to think, oh my God, I have to create so much content. It's not the case. There's only 2 pieces of content that you're creating regularly. The rest you can sprinkle in as you go. So let's kind of explain the frequency out of all this. So here, starting on a weekly basis, every single week, you'll be doing an anticipation post and you're going to be doing live training. Now, we put value posts in here. These are optional. You don't have to do them on a weekly basis. These 2 are going to be the most important ones. And then you can, again, sprinkle these in. Then you have bi-weekly, right? These are for sure. You got to do these because this is going to drive engagement. Every 2 weeks, okay, you're going to either do a hand raiser post, which is either the direct or indirect. I recommend if you've already done a direct, do an indirect. If you've done an indirect, do a direct. Makes your life really, really, really easy. If you can't think of a direct one, or if you don't have room on your roster, then just do an indirect one and it'll actually start conversations inside of the community. Then 1 time per quarter. Okay, so if it's January, February, March, I recommend doing this in the middle of the quarter. So that'll be February, or you can do this towards the end of the quarter if you wanted to. What you're going to do 1 time per quarter or every other month, you can do a promo cycle, and that's going to last 4 days. And so that's a one-time stint over the course of a long period of time. And then sporadically, you're going to be able to sprinkle in client wins and question posts as things come along. And both of these are kind of like filler content. The question posts are pretty much filler content. The rest you can sprinkle in as time goes on. So next up, we're going to jump into a quick mini training where we're going to walk you through the step-by-step process on how to set up your community content calendar using ClickUp. That way you can stay organized, and that way you can have everything all in one area. Even the content that you write and you produce, it can all be there so you have a record of all of it. So with that being said, let's switch over to the mini training now. All right, team, welcome to this mini training. We're going to walk you through the step-by-step process on how to create the community content calendar inside of ClickUp. So without further ado, let's jump in and start getting tactical. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to head over to the left-hand side of ClickUp. If you don't see this, it's usually hidden sometimes. If you log in, we recommend logging in from a browser because it's easier to have multiple windows open. So what you're going to go ahead and do is you're going to hit this icon right here, and it's going to open up the sidebar for you. Then you're going to head over to where it says Spaces. Then you're going to create a new space, okay? Then inside the space, what I recommend calling it is I recommend calling it community content, or you can call it content if you like. Then you're going to select next. It's going to make you select a color or an avatar. You can select the avatar. Let's say I want to select calendar, or I want to select the light bulb. I like the light bulb, and I'm going to make this orange, okay? So I'm just going to keep it very simple and keep it that way. So you can select what it is that you want. So this could be a private workspace, or it could be shared with the members of your ClickUp if you wanted to. It doesn't really matter, completely up to you. Then task statuses, we don't really care about that. The priority, we don't really care about that either. The one that we want to care about is default setting for views. You want to make sure that you turn on calendar, okay? With default setting for views, we want to make sure that we turn on calendars. Then you're going to go ahead and review the space, and then you're going to go ahead and create space. Awesome. Now we have created the space, okay? Then as you can see here, it's already created a list for you, okay? You can see this list. What we're going to do is we're going to change the name of this list, all right? So you can select these 3 buttons right here. We're going to select these 3 buttons. We're going to select rename. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and change the name, and we're going to call this content calendar. Oops, let's make sure we can spell that correctly right there. And here we are here in step number 2, okay? Once we've done the content calendar, we're gonna come over here and we are going to head over to the calendar section right at the top right here. If you wanted to pin this view, you could pin this as well. So this is going to be the first view that you see. Okay. Now you see, I can actually map out the entire month of April. Okay. And how you map out the entire month of April is you're going to go ahead and just create a task. Okay. So let's say for this example, I'm going to create anticipation posts for Tuesdays. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to hit this plus button. I'm going to create anticipation post. Okay. Let's capitalize the P and I'm going to hit enter. Now I've mapped out when I'm going to do my anticipation post. Okay. Then I'm going to do the live training. I'm going to place that right there. And let's see today, or this week, I'm feeling like I want to provide a little bit of value. So I'm going to actually make a value post right here. Now I've mapped out my entire week. Now we know that the anticipation post and the live training is something that's going to be happening over and over again. So you can actually move that here if you wanted to, or you can create a repeating version of it. And then you just come here and you could do anticipation post. And then you could create another one called live training. So we like to go ahead and create the content for the next 4 to 6 weeks if possible, meaning we like to plan out the next 4 to 6 weeks, okay? So here, let's say I'm going to be busy. So I'm going to do a hand raiser. I'm going to do a indirect. Okay. Now, this is one way that you can go about it. So I've did 2 weeks. You can go ahead and map out as many weeks as you want ahead of time. Usually as long as you have a remnants of, okay, what are you going to be doing? This allows you to see, okay, I've already done a hand raiser here. I can't do a hand raiser here. What I will do is I'll do a question post here. Okay. So this allows you to spread out your content. If you're like, oh, I've got a client win, I'm going to throw a client win in here. It's completely up to you how you want to space it out. And then obviously anticipation and live training, those are going to be your 2 content main key pillars. Okay. Now there's 2 ways that you can actually go about this. One way is when you're creating content, you can actually come inside of here and actually do the type up of the copy inside of here. So you can open up the task in itself and have the copy inside of the actual task. So if you're writing your live script, you can actually write the live script in here if that is something that you wanted to do. If you're going to write the value post, you can write the value post inside of the task if that's something you wanted to do. If that's something you did not want to do and you wanted to go with what my preference is I go ahead and I select this plus button and I'm going to create a document and I'm just going to call this community. Let's call this community content. Okay. Now, once I call this community content, you can see I can actually create subpages inside of here. Okay. So you can see I can open up the page document here and I can create multiple pages inside of here. So then I can create a page called live trainings. I can create a page called anticipation posts. I can create a page called question posts. I can create one called hand raisers. You can create one called client wins, right? Hand raisers, right? And so notice I have all these sections, and then whenever I do a live training script, I can just hit the plus button and I can have all of the live training script that I've done underneath live training. So you can organize it that way. Or if you didn't want to organize it that way, you can have a running feed underneath this main community content, right? So you have community content. So let me show you an example. Community content, okay? Then you can add a subpage here. So let's say today is the 10th. So we could do 4/10 anticipation post, okay? And then you're like, okay, I'm going to do the live training the next day. So you could do 4/11 live training. Right? Notice what we're doing is now you're organizing by date. So you could do it this way if you wanted to organize it by date, or if you wanted to organize it by folders, you could do it this way as well. And you could do 4/11 live training, and it's all under each individual folder if you wanted to do it that way. So it's completely up to you how you want to organize it. You can organize it as a feed, or you can organize it in folders. I like to organize things as folders. You can always do stuff in the feed and then move it into the folders if you wanted to as well. Completely up to you by just clicking and dragging. So if I wanted to move the anticipation post in there, I can actually do so, and the anticipation post in here. So you could have a feed, you could do it that way, you can get creative, but it's completely up to you. But mainly what we wanted to make sure you have this content calendar, and the content calendar is going to be in the calendar setting. So it's going to take you to this list. If you want to delete this, you absolutely can, but we want to make sure that we actually keep it to the calendar side of things. I think deleting the list might be difficult because list is the main view that ClickUp has. So then you could switch over to calendar and you'll be able to see your calendar and map out your content. So that was the mini training on how to create your community content calendar. And now we're going to return back to the main training. All right, team, welcome back from that quick mini training. I hope you found that useful. And now you have the tools to make sure you can go out there and stay organized with your content. You have everything set up in ClickUp, and we're going to make sure that you are set up for success. So with that being said, team, that was the entire training section on community content calendar. If you have any questions about the section or anything that we've discussed, make sure to go ahead and ask us inside of the student community, and make sure to use the student community as a place to mastermind, as a place to connect. Remember, it's always a place where you're not just posting the work that you're doing, but also asking questions, also going outside of the box and really going in there and asking deeper questions that don't just have to do with the training, but has to do with business overall, connecting with the other students and getting the other students' feedback as well, because we collectively grow as a whole. It's not about guru on the mountain. It's about everyone, because the power is in the community. So with that being said, we're going to wrap it up here, and we'll catch you guys in the next training section. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And in this training section, we're going to be talking about ways to create amazing content. And this is going to be a general arching overview and best practices on what we have learned over the years on creating content and what you can utilize to create really amazing content as well. So let's jump into this and dive right on in here. There are a ton of ways that you can create amazing content. Now, here's a few ways that we found that you can go ahead and implement into your content that you can actually draw inspiration from. Remember, you don't need to do all of these. Certain aspects will only apply to specific types of content. So let's do this again. Let's align our expectations, because this is something that we're going to do over and over again in our trainings. Will you start making content like us or like Steven Spielberg on your first try? No, it would be unreasonable to have that expectation of yourself. You have to understand, people see what we produce and they wonder how they can do it as well, but they don't see the 9 years of putting in work consistently creating content. So our goal is to provide you with all the knowledge, is to help you understand what it is that you need to do and how to do it. But actually taking action and doing the thing is going to be up to you. Okay, that's going to be completely on your shoulders, because at the end of the day, we can give you the knowledge, right? But the only way that you're going to get results is if you put the reps in, and that's what's going to allow you to develop the skill, and the skills and identity will allow you to get the results that you want. Now, buckle up, enjoy the ride, and enjoy the process, because as an entrepreneur, this is the journey that you selected to be on. Okay, this is a journey of growth. This is a journey of not settling. This is a journey of putting in work no matter how you feel. Because for over 200,000 years, our brains are just designed to help us survive, right? Being uncomfortable, pushing through obstacles, fears, and not feeling good enough is part of the journey, because that's what the brain is used to. It's used that to keep ourselves safe. And here's another reminder. You are a winner. Right? Someone who faces adversity head on and works through things to become the type of person that you need to become to achieve the things that you want. Okay? You are a winner. I want to remind you of that. You're here putting in the work. You're listening to these trainings. You're actually making the application of it. Is it going to be fun? No, but is it going to be worth it? Absolutely, because eventually you're going to get to a point where you're going to snap your fingers and things are going to click, because you've actually put the time underneath the bar. You've put the reps in. You've lifted the weight so much that your nervous system, that your mindset is trained to do hard things. Okay. Now, with that being said, let's jump into a few guidelines that you can follow to create amazing content inside of your community. Okay. So the first one is real simple, is that simply simplify, simplify, simplify. The best content is the simple one. Make it simple, dumb it down to 3 to 4 things. And this is where you're going to trim the fat and remove the fluff. Now, is this going to happen on your first go round? Probably not. Eventually, you will actually do so many iterations of it that by the time you get to here, this is where you can break it up into 4 or 5 things. And you can actually condense it down because now you've actually done the reps and now you can go ahead and trim the fat. So the simplification is going to happen from you getting conscious reps in. Okay. Then moving on to number 2, the second principle, it's all about coming up with diagrams, right? As you can see here, these are all the diagrams that we have within RWA, within the training, right? We have the roller coaster of thoughts and emotions, the 4 pillars of health, and then we have the becoming process, right? Your version 1.0, your version 2.0. These are all visual diagrams that you can create to make things easier for people to actually see. Okay, so that's principle number 2, coming up with diagrams. Principle number 3 is coming up with formulas. Okay, you can actually create formulas like the results formula. You can come up with the skills formula. You can come up with the skill curves. So what that does, it actually takes visuals and actually applies it to the formulas that you have, which makes it easier to remember. So that's another principle that you can follow. You can also create process maps. Okay, and process maps are actually showing people from step 1 all the way to step 2 or to their destination. And so what process maps do is they take the person from A all the way to Z and they show them the entire process of what that looks like. So eventually, after you've helped enough clients, you can actually take your exact framework and how you help people step by step and actually create that. So you guys kind of actually did this when you were working on your free asset, right? Because you've already created a process map, which is your framework. Now you have to create a visual representation of that. Principle number 5 is all around creating memorable names. Okay, this is like giving things labels, because when you give things labels, it makes it easier for people to comprehend the concepts when things are labels. So here's an example of a few labels: becoming process, limbic lalu, failure uniform, student, right? That's stuff that you guys can actually like know about. The wheel of wellness, the skills curve, finding your spice. These are all labels that we have created to make it easy for you to consume the content that we are producing. Okay, even though we're producing educational content, it's still content because all of these elements still apply. Now, principle number 6 is give real life examples. Okay, try using as many examples and make it practical as possible. This is why the best content is just a snapshot of what you experienced or something that has actually happened. Okay, and this actually leads us to principle number 7, which is all about telling stories. Okay, stories are the oldest form of communication, and stories act as a universal language between all of us, right? We have the same stories that are passed around from generation to generation, from country to country, from continent to continent. Okay, stories allow us to connect and feel the emotions or place ourselves in the shoes of the people that are inside of them. So stories allow us to connect and feel the emotions and place ourselves in the shoes of the people that are inside of them. If you remember the story, right, of my story of breaking my version 1.0, right, this is where I didn't want to cut my beard to become our version 2.0. That's a story that's probably going to stick with you and you're going to actually remember that. Okay, we don't use stories as much because we have a lot of visual elements that we can pull from, but it's still a very good tool. Okay, then going into principle number 8, use quotes. Using quotes makes things memorable. Okay, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten. Right? That's some of our quotes that we have. If you want something you've never had, you have to do something that you've never done. You have to become somebody you've never been, and you have to think about things the way you never have. Okay? What got you to where you are now will not get you to where you want to go. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. These are quotes that we've shared with you guys over and over again. And these are quotes that resonate with you because you've already heard them over and over and over again. And so again, these are things that can make your content more sticky. These are things that can make people assimilate within your content very well. Now, are these the only way to make content better? No. Okay, these are just good frameworks and principles that you can start to use. And as you put the reps in, you're going to develop your skills in creating quality content, because the prerequisite for creating content is that you will suck at first, and that is okay. But you cannot learn any of this without reps. And I just want to remind you again that you are a winner. Take everything that you have learned and start applying it right away and start creating inside of your community, because that's what's going to allow you to get the results, and be consistent with it, because at the end of the day, this is going to be one of the greatest skill sets that you learn, and nobody can take that away from you. So now that you understand the principles of content, of creating very good content and great content, now let's move into the step-by-step process on creating an idea bank. Because I think people have this common misconception that they're going to sit down and all of this magical creativity is going to come to them, because no matter how good you are, you will not have a creative orgasm if you sit down right off the get-go. So what you need is you need to create a system that'll allow you to create ideas and content on the fly. And that's exactly what we're going to walk you in this mini training right now. All right, everyone, welcome to this mini training. We're going to be walking you through how to create an idea bank. And what an idea bank will allow you to do is it will allow you to draw ideas to create content from. Because sitting down and coming up with a creative orgasm is very, very, very difficult. It just doesn't happen that way, right? Because at the beginning, we want to make sure that when you sit down to create content, you're not drawing a blank, you know exactly what you're going to be doing, and this will allow you to actually come up with ideas very quickly. So with that being said, let's jump into this. So step one out of all of this is you got to choose the right tool. Okay, so you can use Telegram, you can use ClickUp, you can use TickTick. That is my preferred tool. If you're going to go ahead and use Telegram, you can create a chat with yourself. It does not matter. For the longest time, we used Telegram. We've had something called an idea dump. Okay, best part about having Telegram is that you can actually have it on your phone, and you can actually just create a feed or a chat with yourself. And it's just called an idea dump. And whenever you have an idea, you just type it in there and it's very readily available. For the longest time, I had an idea dump inside of Telegram. The only problem with Telegram is that it creates a running feed. So you're going to have to scroll up and down. And I didn't want to have a running feed. I wanted to have something that I could extrapolate very easily. So I use something called TickTick. Okay. And so I have something called an idea bank, and I have something called the queue. Okay. And the queue is during the week, I'm walking, I'm reading, I'm consuming stuff. I'm going to come up with ideas and I'm going to put it on here. So you can see I have this idea of health, hygiene. Confidence comes from keeping the promises you make to yourself, chasing excellence, living with intention, how I use Ramadan to get ahead in business and life, how we forget when we begin our life, we're getting closer to death. Right? So just all these things that I'm consuming and that I'm reading, and you're like, whoa, this is crazy. I get ideas from this and I'm going to dump it into my queue because I know I'm going to actually utilize this later. So that's step number one. You got to choose your tool that you want to use. Step number two is you got to prime your RAS. Okay. As you're going through your marketplace swipe file, you're consuming content, you're working on your health, you're going to start getting ideas and the things that you want to talk about. If you're reading a book, articles, newsletters, listening to podcasts, what we have learned is that the quality of the content that you produce will be determined by the quality of your inputs. Okay. So if you're consuming quality content, then you will produce the same, because inputs equals outputs. And as you're consuming content, as you're learning things, as you're growing and you have breakthroughs and you're learning stuff, take the time and take those things that you have in your mind that come up and dump them into your idea dump. Okay, so that's step number two, is prime your RAS. As you're consuming stuff, this process is like getting a train going, right? At the beginning, the train takes a lot of force to get going, but after that, once you're actually priming your RAS, you'll start getting ideas like there's no tomorrow with everything that you talk about or everything that you do, which is really, really, really awesome place to be in. Then step number three, this is really important. You want to be able to give yourself time to actually think, right? This is where solitude, time for yourself, being in silence allows you to actually think, because as you're consuming, you want to schedule time into your calendar to actually think, or what we call ideate. This could be 15 minutes, this could be an hour, whatever you choose. Let your mind wander, read stuff, look at quotes, let things actually inspire you, right? And then use your idea dump to record those ideas for the next piece of content that you're going to create, for the next live you're going to create, for the next value post that you're going to create, whatever it may be. And then when it comes time to creating your content, go to your idea dump, pull out a topic that sticks to you, okay? And then start writing your thoughts out about that topic, right? Now, whether you're doing a daily podcast or you're making an anticipation from your lives, now you have an area to actually pull from. You have a constant idea dump where you're never running out of ideas, and all you need to do is you just need to go in here and then deploy it into whatever type of content you want. You want to do it for your live, you want to do a question, you want to do a value post, right? Whatever it may be, now you have a resource to actually pull from. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that was the step-by-step process on how to create an idea bank. I highly recommend doing so because you're going to be creating content inside of your community to provide value to the members inside of your community. And the best way you're going to be able to do that on the dime consistently is going to be with an idea bank. So go ahead, make your idea bank, whatever is easy. Don't have paralysis by analysis. If you have Telegram, which you should, just start using it. If you're using ClickUp, use ClickUp. If you want to use TickTick, you can use TickTick. Use whatever is easier for you and just start the process. And I guarantee you it will make creating content 100 times easier for you. So with that being said, that was the creating an idea bank mini training. And now we're going to get back to the main training. All right, team, welcome back from that mini training. Now you should have a clear understanding of how to create an idea bank. You should know exactly what you're going to be pulling and how you're going to be pulling it, how you're going to be priming your RAS, and really having the time to come up with ideas and ideating on really good concepts so you can create really awesome and amazing content. So with that being said, team, as we move along here, we're going to wrap it up. And if you have any questions about this section or anything that we've discussed, make sure you go ahead and ask inside of the student community. And with that being said, we'll catch you guys in the next training section.